Chapter 333. The next morning, Toru Watanabe didn't go for his morning run. While Miki Kujo was still in a daze, the two experienced a particularly passionate lovemaking. Because of this, Kujo classmate didn't ask for leave today. Kanagawa High School was immersed in the excitement of the upcoming cultural festival. They were so excited that they began to worry about the approaching super typhoon. They prayed that it would come later and last until after the festival. Kun Watanabe, good morning. Walking into the classroom, Tetsumesa Watanabe was about to sit down in his seat when he looked at Aoi Ichiki, who greeted him with a puzzled expression. This was the first time since Karuizawa came back. Yesterday's mutton was delicious. What are we eating today? Aoi Ichiki said, as if she remembered the taste of roasted mutton bursting in her mouth. She couldn't help but lick her lips. So that's how it is. How about Sichuan cuisine? Toru Watanabe sat down in his seat, not only to Aoi Ichiki, but also to discuss with the two girls. Numbing and spicy mapo tofu, spicy chicken filled with chili, a bowl of white rice, and a mouthful of iced cola. He said as he put down his backpack. Aoi Ichiki couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva, and carefully said, "Is it too spicy?" "Don't worry, Miyazaki-sensei is here. No one will die." "It's that spicy?" Aoi Ichiki was shocked. She couldn't decide, and fearfully asked for Rin Kiyono's opinion. "Kiyono classmate, what do you think? Do you want to eat this Sichuan cuisine? Compared to eating, I think you should think more about the play." Rin Kiyono coldly replied. Aoi Ichiki smiled embarrassedly, turned her head, and took out the script to read. She swallowed from time to time, probably because she was stimulated by the whole pot of red chili. Tetsumesa Watanabe was wondering where to find authentic Sichuan cuisine in Tokyo when Miki Kujo patted his right arm. "What's wrong?" He turned around. Miki Kujo didn't say anything. Her delicate and beautiful face was already buried in the pillow. The thing in her hand that she used to slap Toru Watanabe was her exercise book. Ah! Toru Watanabe slapped his forehead as he remembered that the two of them had yet to do their homework. He hurriedly took Miss Kujio's homework and Chin-Yi Rin's homework that was placed on the corner of his desk. Then, he spread it out on the desk along with his own and began to write at a rapid pace. His own printed book, Miki Kujo, was beautiful and beautiful. If he did it himself, he could finish it before class. But if Aona Koizumi found out that he didn't do his homework, she would definitely call his parents in I-Weight Prefecture. She indulged Toru Watanabe in everything except his studies. Toru Watanabe usually lived in Shinonko, and his homework was done under her supervision. Relying on his superhuman hand speed, he finally finished copying 2 sets of homework before the class meeting started. Toru Watanabe's lesson for the day: the battle should be fought after the homework, business. After a full day of classes, they first went to the Human Observation Department and left their bags there. After that, Miki Kujo stayed in the club classroom, while the rest of them went to the sewing classroom with Mayasahi, who had just rushed over. "Senpai, are the university's club activities okay?" Aoi Ichiki asked. "It's okay." Mayasahi, who was wearing casual clothes, was particularly eye-catching among the group of people in school uniforms. Those who didn't know her thought that she was a new intern teacher, and hoped to be in her class next year. Those who recognized her, regardless of whether they had talked to her before, would greet her warmly and say, "Senpai. Long time no see." "Senpai, how's Waseda University?" Aoi Ichiki asked Aona Koizumi. "Do you want to come and be my junior?" "I'm still considering it, but going from a student to being Koizumi Senpai's junior is pretty nice." "Then let me introduce you to my alma mater." People came and went in the hallways. Some were carrying cardboard boxes, some were carrying wooden planks, and some were writing slogans on billboards. The sewing classroom was on the 2nd floor of the club building. Usually, this classroom would be used for home economics classes to practice sewing. When they walked in, the girls from the handicraft department were already waiting inside. "Sorry, we're late." Rin Kiyono greeted them. "It's okay, we just arrived as well. Come and try it on. If there's anything that doesn't fit, we can change it on the spot. Okay, thank you. The 5 of them received their outfits from the girls. When it was Toru Watanabe's turn, the girl with the short ponytail from the handicraft department said happily, "Kun Watanabe, I heard that you were the one who designed the outfits. They're really nice. I only gave a suggestion. It's all thanks to the art department's head, Kagawa-senpai." The girl with the short ponytail giggled. She glanced at the door of the sewing classroom and whispered to Toru Watanabe, "When Kagawa-senpai gave me the outfits, she said that in her world, you've already been killed hundreds of times." Hundreds of times? That's too cruel. I'm not some kind of demon. Every night, I remind her to go to bed at midnight. I'm worried that she'll be in danger during this period of time, so I remind her to be careful when she goes to the bathroom. I don't want her to break her hand because the floor is slippery. When crossing the road, she has to be careful of passing cars. This was 100% the truth. The girl with the short ponytail and the other members of the handicraft department who were still sitting in front of the sewing machine all laughed. After the 5 of them received their outfits, the girl with the short ponytail said, "The sewing classroom doesn't have a fitting room, only a preparation room. Girls, please go first. Thank you." The girls took the outfits and walked towards the preparation room. Aoi Ichiki stared at the backs of Masahi, Rin Kiyono, and Aona Koizumi and swallowed hard. She took a step forward and was about to follow them with the outfits in her hands when she felt a tug on the collar of her school uniform. "What are you doing?" She turned around and glared at Toru Watanabe angrily. "What do you think?" Toru Watanabe coldly glanced at her. "Umph." Aoi Ichiki reluctantly broke free from his grasp. "What's the matter?" the girl with the short ponytail asked. "Nothing. That scene just now was from a play. I suddenly wanted to joke around with her." Toru Watanabe gave a perfunctory reply. "Watanabe-san." Rin Kiyono's beautiful figure stopped in front of the preparation room. "What's the matter?" Toru Watanabe looked at her. "Even if the 3 of us are changing, you shouldn't do anything obscene. Even if you don't feel embarrassed, I feel embarrassed for you. How am I supposed to do anything obscene in front of so many people? Please teach me, Kiyono-san. Watch your ears." He was completely seen through. Toru Watanabe was indeed preparing for a listening test. According to the different sounds of the student's school uniform, university students' casual clothes, and teacher's uniform rubbing against each other, he was able to determine the order in which the 3 of them would take off their clothes. As for the scene, he was very familiar with the 3 of them, so he could use his imagination to make up for this flaw. Now that Rin Kiyono had seen through him, he could only give up on this impromptu test that tested his brain and physical strength. Aoi Ichiki and the girls from the handicraft department were discussing the matter of changing the length of the school skirt. Toru Watanabe stood alone in front of the window. He couldn't see the courtyard from here. He faced the back of the school building. At the corner of the wall, Yoshimi Tamamo sat alone in a chair with a music stand in front of her. She was seriously practicing her trombone. Toru Watanabe glanced at her as he reflected on his actions. In front of Masahi and Aona Koizumi, he showed off his wealth and made them believe that the future would be bright. In front of Miki Kujo and Rin Kiyono, these 2 people had unimaginable power and wealth. In front of them, he showed them an unimaginable side of himself. He showed them different things, but his goal was the same: to give them a sense of security. He always thought that there was no harm in doing this, but he didn't expect that today he would lose the opportunity to eavesdrop on 3 people at once. Multiple people. The ultimate dream in life. It would have been nice to just listen. Toru Watanabe regretted it in his heart. Yoshimi Tamamo was tired from playing. When she was resting, she used the back of her hand to wipe her slightly numb lips. She inadvertently looked up and saw Toru Watanabe by the window. She lowered her head and looked at her collar. Because it was hot and there was no one here, the bow-knot necktie was slanted, revealing a deep cleavage and a large patch of snow-white skin. Pervert! She clamped the trombone under her arm. With her left hand on the stool and her right hand on the music stand, she changed her position. Toru Watanabe came back to his senses and realized that Yoshimi Tamamo had disappeared. Yoshimi Tamamo has changed too, he thought. It wasn't just Yoshimi Tamamo. In the past year, Rin Kiyono, Miki Kujo, Mayasahi, Aona Koizumi, and himself had all changed to varying degrees. Although their personalities were still unique, they were becoming more and more like ordinary people. One day, the sound of the preparation room's door being opened came from behind. Toru Watanabe stopped thinking and turned around. The first to walk out was Mayasahi. She was wearing a red and white witch uniform. Her small face was delicate. Her eyes were as clear as the spring water in the mountains. She was wearing a witch uniform and looked very otherworldly. However, under the Y neckline, there was a small chest and a thin waist that was tightly bound by a belt. On a stormy night, in the shrine's main hall, reaching his hand into the witch uniform's collar and touching a witch like this. Ah! So beautiful! So beautiful! Senpai Mai is so beautiful! Aoi Ichiki screamed with glowing eyes. Toru Watanabe took out his camera and started shooting. The second to walk out was Aona Koizumi. Mayasahi was a witch of the shrine. She was a Western witch. Wearing a black robe and a wide-brimmed black hat, she exuded a sense of mystery. A witch with high magic power and big breasts suddenly grabbed an ordinary person, Toru Watanabe, and forced him to drink an evil magic potion. She wanted to do an experiment with him that was too evil to be described with words. What do you think? Aona Koizumi, who had a normal sense of shame, was embarrassed by such an outfit. The teacher uniform is great. The witch uniform is great too, Toru Watanabe commented while shooting. Koizumi-senpai, I suggest that you call the police. Rin Kiyono's cold voice sounded. At the same time, she walked out of the preparation room. She, who was acting as a fairy, wore a white dress that Toru Watanabe and herself had designed. It was like a thin veil. The sleeves were wide and supported the long skirt. It was so light that it seemed to take her to the sky. Time stopped in the sewing classroom. Let alone Toru Watanabe, all the girls present held their breaths. Ignoring everyone's infatuated eyes, Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe in a daze and admired the sleeves with satisfaction. Although it looks good, it's too troublesome to wear, she said. Kiyono-san. Although it's not a wedding dress, it's more beautiful than a wedding dress. It's so beautiful. Now that you mention it, Rin Kiyono placed her hand on the fairy's chin and muttered like a fairy, you can put this design in a wedding dress shop or a photography shop and take wedding photos for people who are getting married. First, you have to register the copyright. Don't think about these things while wearing this dress, Toru Watanabe said. Although I don't think about it all the time, I do occasionally think about how to continue strengthening the Seigo family. Seigo Rin flicked his sleeves, as if a divine maiden was showering her with holy light. It was a simple action, but it had the same effect as Toru Watanabe's smile. Everyone was stunned again. Director, I have an idea about the promotional poster. Toru Watanabe was very resistant to this. Rather than saying this, it was more accurate to say that he had seen enough of it. Ever since he joined the ministry, he had been looking at Rin Kiyono almost every day. Tell me about it. A folding fan. You and Mickey will wear costumes and stand face to face in the corner of the fan. Behind you will be Sensei Aonai, Sensei Mai, and Itsuki. What about you? I'll be the one to open the fan. That's fine. Rin Kiyono nodded like a fairy. But why a folding fan? Because I just happen to have one. Toru Watanabe's reason was very simple. If Auntie Genji knew, I don't know if she would still give you the folding fan. Rin Kiyono sighed helplessly. I'll leave the matter of the poster to you. We'll shoot it tomorrow at noon. Okay. Toru Watanabe thought of Miki Kujo. In The World's End and The Cold Wonderland, the girl was the only character who had 3 costumes. A village girl, a white gauze dress for her first appearance in the Wonderland, and a black gauze dress for her second appearance in the Wonderland. Although the style was different, the appearance of Miki Kujo was equally outstanding. What happened in the morning once again appeared in his mind. Toru Watanabe recalled the morning's infatuation and thought of Kujo's soft moans. He arranged everything for the evening. When he came back to his senses, Rin Kiyono was staring at him with an icy gaze that said, "Can you please die?" "I'm going to change too." Aoi Ichiki ran to the preparation room. "Let's take a picture together after you're done?" "Okay." Koizumi Aonai replied with a gentle smile. "Let's do it together." Someone from the handicraft department said. Aoi Ichiki was wearing a medieval-style female knight outfit, which looked valiant and heroic. "Kuan Watanabe, it's your turn. Hurry up and change. See if there's anything you need to change," the girl from the handicraft department urged. As a member of the handicraft department, she was somewhat obsessed with uniforms. She wanted to see others wearing the clothes she made, and she wanted to see others wearing all kinds of clothes, especially beautiful, handsome, and well-shaped people. "Okay, sorry to trouble you." Toru Watanabe put down his camera, picked up his outfit, and walked to the preparation room. "Hurry up and take a picture." Aoi Ichiki's voice came from behind him. "By the way, Kiyono-san, if this outfit of yours is to be sold commercially, can we continue to display it?" "That's because you guys helped me. In exchange, I agreed to your conditions." "Of course I can." "Kiyono-san, please look over here." Toru Watanabe walked into the preparation room and saw 3 neatly arranged stacks of clothes on the table. "Fortunately, I'm a gentleman." Toru Watanabe stopped himself from taking a second look. He took off his tie and unbuttoned his shirt. At this moment, with a dong sound, Toru Watanabe's unlocked door was pushed open. A group of girls stared at Toru Watanabe, who had taken off his shirt to his shoulders. "Wow, muscles. The Apollo's belt at his pelvis. The Apollo's belt. I want to touch it with my hands. His waist is too thin." Ah, the girls from the handicraft department were dazzled. Aona Koizumi's face was flushed red. The leader, Aoi Ichiki, first looked at the 4 people's outfits. Then, together with Mayasahi, she stared at Toru Watanabe without blinking. Rin Kiyono, who was at the back, looked at the 4 people's outfits. Then, she smiled and looked at Toru Watanabe. "Hey." Toru Watanabe shrugged his shoulders and put his shirt back on. After this interruption, Toru Watanabe, who had changed his clothes, didn't go out. Instead, he looked at the camera to see if it fit. Just like his smile, he was only in the mood to show off to those few people. The handicraft department felt that it was a pity. They even said that they had to show it to a professional to know if it really fit. They wanted to use this as an excuse to trick Toru Watanabe into wearing it for them. The 5 people took their costumes and returned to the human observation department with satisfaction. During the free time of practicing the play, Toru Watanabe secretly asked Miki Kujo, "Is your costume done?" "It's done." Kujio Miyoshi replied nonchalantly. "Tonight, I'll give you a review." Miki Kujo immediately understood Toru Watanabe's intention. She looked at him with a smile. "How do you review?" she asked. "Look at the material, whether it's strong enough, and then the structure, how to put it on and how to take it off. It can be done." Miki Kujo's voice became undulating, making people's hearts sway. "But I'll wear whatever you wear." "Miki, I'm a guy, wearing a skirt. Didn't you wear a kimono too?" "No one knows." "If I wear a white veil, I can act very pure, Mr. Devil." Let me think. Toru Watanabe's willpower was very strong. Miki Kujo grabbed Toru Watanabe's tie and said in a hoarse voice, "Black veil, I'll be very bad, very bad." "I think," Toru Watanabe said seriously, "I'll wear whatever you wear." "This is very fair, very good." Miki Kujo laughed happily. She loosened his tie and pushed Toru Watanabe away. Useless. Chapter 334. As the cultural festival drew closer, more and more classes stayed in the classroom after school to prepare for the event. During the break from drama practice, when Toru Watanabe was ordered to buy drinks, he saw that some classes used cardboard boxes to form a dinosaur ceiling, and some classes were so small that he couldn't see inside. There was a sign outside the room that said, "Setting up a haunted house, please do not peep." Among them was the third grade class, who knew what they were doing. Why was there a group of people sitting there, eating snacks and drinking drinks? Had they already started the celebration? Or was the class event a party? We won't be able to make it in time. When school was almost over, Rin Kiyono said, "I'm sorry." Aona Koizumi and Aoi Ichiki apologized. After a few days of training, the two of them had made great progress. But that little progress couldn't meet Rin Kiyono's requirements for stage performance. The two were just ordinary people, so it was already very good that they could reach this level. As for my Asahi, Toru Watanabe wrote the role of the emotionless, cold-faced witch, so she only needed to act as herself. "Is there any way?" Toru Watanabe said as he clamped my Asahi's outstretched foot. Through the thin summer pants, he could clearly feel the lines of her ankle. Sitting on the beach table, my Asahi flipped through the script in her hand, but didn't see anything strange. From this, it could be inferred why Toru Watanabe's acting was so good. There was no need to explain further, as he had experienced too much. Everyone looked at Rin Kiyono, who thought for a while and said, "We can only sleep together." Sleep together? Aona Koizumi was puzzled. "Yes." Rin Kiyono explained, "Starting from Friday night, we'll be training at school until Monday morning. We'll have high-intensity training. I don't have a problem, but can Mai and Itsuki classmate do?" Aona Koizumi looked at the two. "Yes." My Asahi nodded lightly. "I'm fine with it too. After all, there's no training for the national competition before the cultural festival ends." After saying that, Aoi Ichiki tried her best to hide her excitement and asked, "Do girls sleep together at school?" As the teacher, Aona Koizumi said, "From a safety point of view, this is indeed the right arrangement." "I'll sleep at home and come back on the same day," Miki Kujo said. "No." Rin Kiyono refused without even thinking about it. When Miki Kujo looked at her coldly, she explained, "The meaning of training is to seize every second after you open your eyes. Going home will only make you relax. The most important thing is that once you go home, no one can guarantee that you can get up on time." This was an irrefutable reason. However, if he wanted Miki Kujo to admit her own shortcomings, it would be more realistic to ask all the merchants to reveal the inside story of the industry. "That's because there's nothing for me to wake up on time. As long as I want to do it, I can get up as early as I want." Miki Kujo turned her head to look at Toru Watanabe and continued, "The second time I met my dear was a very, very early morning, right? It was a Monday that I suddenly wanted to get up early," Toru Watanabe pretended to recall. "I put on Kanagawa High School's Western-style uniform and went out early. I met my 100% girl under the oak tree." "Ouch. What's wrong?" Aona Koizumi hurriedly asked when she saw Toru Watanabe's pained expression. Toru Watanabe didn't say anything. He just bent over and pressed his hands on his knees. He appeared to be in pain. "Did you hit the table?" Miki Kujo asked with a smile. "Be careful." As long as he didn't say anything and put on such an expression, everyone would think so. Toru Watanabe took away the foot of the female university student who ran between his legs when he wasn't paying attention. But Toru Watanabe continued to bear the pain and didn't give her a chance to ask for details. "Miki, we're now in the second semester of our second year of high school. We only have 1.5 years left to wear the uniform and have sex in school." Aoi Ichiki's expression was indescribable. Aona Koizumi covered her forehead with her hand. She had a look that said, "Please forgive us for embarrassing ourselves." Rin Kiyono put her hand on her forehead as if she had a headache. She sighed helplessly. My Asahi was expressionless as she put her smooth and delicate foot back into the guest shoe. "That's true." Miki Kujo completely agreed with Toru Watanabe's words. "If that's the case, then I'll join in the dormitory, but I won't sleep with you guys." "Kujo-san," Aona Koizumi said with a bitter smile, "I'm a teacher after all." I can't allow you and Watanabe to do that kind of thing in school. Kujio Miki furrowed her delicate brows. How about this? Toru Watanabe had already relieved the pain from hitting the table. We'll all sleep together in this classroom. It'll be easier for me to protect you guys. Miki, you'll sleep between me and Kiyono-san. Sleep together. Aoi Ichiki was surprised. There are so many people, and Miki is also here. What can I do? What can you do when I'm not here? Miki Kujo asked with a smile. What I mean is, because you're here, even if I want to do something, it'll be done to you. Toru Watanabe explained, then asked the others, what do you think? I don't have any objections. Rin Kiyono knew that Toru Watanabe's every word was true. Okay. Mayasahi nodded. That's good. Aona Koizumi said, but everyone should be separated. I'll go to the infirmary to get the curtain so that it'll be easier to change. Is everyone okay? Aoi Ichiki looked at everyone in the room in surprise. You should be the most okay, right? Toru Watanabe said to her. Don't look at me like this. Aoi Ichiki hugged her body and said proudly, I'm very conservative. What I mean is, I respect your sexual orientation very much, so I definitely won't do anything to you. Okay. Rin Kiyono interrupted the farce. Itsuki classmate, if you can't accept it, I'll arrange another plan. However, if Watanabe classmate stays alone, I'm worried that some people will see each other in the same bed. Aoi Ichiki exclaimed as she looked at Mayasahi, then at the two girls. Kiyono classmate meant, if Toru Watanabe slept alone, would she, Kujo classmate, and my classmate sneak into his room? Absolutely not. She didn't notice that Aona Koizumi's white face was red. Okay. Aoi Ichiki made up her mind, everyone will sleep together. I just want to protect you, why do you think so much? Toru Watanabe discovered that he was the one with the purest thoughts. Rin Kiyono ignored him and said to Aona Koizumi, accommodation is taken care of, can the school take care of food and toiletries? Toiletries are fine, there's a bathroom for teachers. We can only buy our own food and make it in the cooking classroom, the teacher will take care of it. Aona Koizumi said while thinking. Ah, the teacher's cooking, Aoi Ichiki exclaimed with exaggerated acting skills. It's not too troublesome. Rin Kiyono said, there are 6 people, if we make exquisite food, half a day will be spent on it. Watanabe classmate. Here. Aren't you in charge of the fried rice? You'll be in charge of it this time. This way, even if it tastes bad, our Kujo-san won't say anything. It's my fault for being partial to my dear. Miki Kujo glanced at Rin Kiyono teasingly. Rin Kiyono ignored her and continued, buy some curry and make it so that we can eat 2 meals. Try to save as much time as possible. In her crystal clear eyes, there was no trace of falsehood, only an unwavering honesty. If she said that they were sleeping together for training, then it must be for training. Perhaps in the depths of her girlish heart, there was a longing for a rosy future. I'll make the curry, Aona Koizumi said gently. I'll also ask the teacher for the dormitory application. Okay. That's all for today, dismissed. Thank you for your hard work. Everyone said. What are we eating tonight? Aoi Ichiki shook her body expectantly. Watanabe classmate. Rin Kiyono put the script full of words into her bag. Finish the promotional poster as soon as possible. Work has to be done after dinner. Toru Watanabe raised his right index finger. How about eating beef hot pot today? There are big bones bigger than a fist, you can hold them and gnaw on them. Gulp, Aoi Ichiki swallowed a mouthful of saliva. As the corridor of the school building became more and more crowded, it was Friday in the blink of an eye. There are still so many people at this time? Aoi Ichiki placed her hand on the elevated corridor and looked down. Kanagawa High School was located on relatively high ground. Standing on the 5th floor, one could overlook the night view of Shinjuku. The orange lights formed a long line, and the vehicles formed a river of light that slowly flowed in the night, as if they were the blood of the city. Tonight, Kanagawa High School was also brightly lit. Most of the classrooms were lit. From here, one could see people walking in and out of the windows. On the second floor of the club building near the elevated corridor, the debate department was having a heated argument. It wasn't surprising that a fight could break out at any time. In the distance, on the third floor of the teaching building, two people were having a serious conversation on the first grade's podium. It wasn't clear whether they were having a conversation or rehearsing a crosstalk. "It's an incredible feeling," Aoi Ichiki muttered to herself. Toru Watanabe understood what she meant. In the night, looking at the light leaking out of the windows and the scenes through the windows gave him a strange feeling. "Classmate Ichiki," Aona Koizumi called out from the end of the corridor. "Coming." Aoi Ichiki ran over. The night breeze blew away the stuffy heat for a moment. After Aoi Ichiki changed, it was finally Toru Watanabe's turn. The six of them didn't wear pajamas. They were all wearing t-shirts and knee-length pants. Only Aoi Ichiki was an exception. She wore the school's loose sportswear. "Why is it that when you change, I have to go out?" "I'm changing, but you can stay inside." Toru Watanabe's voice came from the corner of the curtain. "Don't waste time there," Rin Kiyono said emotionlessly. "I'm taking off my clothes." The five of them quieted down. They could hear Toru Watanabe taking off his clothes one by one. Aona Koizumi looked at the other four people. It seemed that she was the only one who paid special attention to it. Is everyone used to Watanabe taking off his clothes? Am I falling behind? She thought to herself. When Toru Watanabe opened the curtain, Rin Kiyono immediately said, "Let's begin." "Good morning, girl." He walked towards the beechwood table and said his lines in a tone that made him look like a devil. "Good morning, Mr. Devil." Miki Kujo looked at him with a smile. "This is not the place for you two to flirt before bed." Kiyono warned them coldly. He practiced his lines one by one. The air conditioner was too cold, so he took time to put on his coat. When he was thirsty, he drank fresh juice from Miki Kujo's refrigerator. When he was hungry, he bought rice balls from the convenience store and various desserts in the fridge. He practiced for a while at the beechwood table. When there was no one around late at night, he ran to the overhead corridor to perform. Since there were mosquitoes, he lit up the mosquito extinguisher. "When I was young like you, I pursued the end of the world. I found the devil and asked him for the answer." "The devil?" "As long as you pay the price, the devil and the gods will know." "Did he tell you the answer?" "Of course." Toru Watanabe stepped forward and said hello to Aona Koizumi. "Long time no see, Miss Witch." "It has been 300 years. Aona Koizumi's voice contained a faint reminiscence. "Because you have not left this forest for 300 years. You have not spoken to anyone for 300 years. Toru Watanabe said with a smile. "If possible, please tell me how to get to the end of the world." "I will agree to any conditions," Miki Kujo said loudly and firmly to Aona Koizumi. "I only know 1/3 of the way." Aona Koizumi retracted her gaze from the devil and looked at Miki Kujo. "Did Mr. Devil cheat?" Miki Kujo asked. "I sacrificed death to become an undead witch." "Death? Isn't that a good thing?" "It is a good thing. However, those who traded for death all died in the end," Aona Koizumi said coolly. "The devil lied to you?" Toru Watanabe shrugged. "No." Aona Koizumi explained. "People fear the devil, fearing that he brings death and deception. However, when they learned that death could be traded for, almost no one could refuse such a temptation. Losing death would give one eternal life, as well as power and wealth." The young girl nodded. No one could refuse such a temptation. "However," the witch said, "once a human obtains eternal life, their desires will swell to no end. Most people who made up their minds to only trade once in the end lost themselves and became slaves to the devil." "As expected of Mr. Devil," Miki Kujo said with a smile, as though she was praising her friend's cunning. 30 million years ago, I came up with a brilliant idea, Toru Watanabe said with a hint of pride. The young girl ignored the devil and continued to talk to the witch. If that is the case, why did you use death to trade for only 1/3 of the map? Because I did not tell you how many maps I could trade for, the devil explained on behalf of the witch. Do you hate the devil? Do you want to kill him together? The young girl asked the witch. Hey. The devil pretended to be shocked. No. The witch's answer was beyond the young girl's expectations. No matter if it is a devil or a human, I think we should understand each other. When it comes to trading, it was my own negligence, and I was willing to do it. You can't blame the devil. Those who trade with the devil also did it on their own accord. That's right. The devil nodded. Humans are really unreasonable. They clearly decided to trade with me, but in the end, it was me who tempted them, causing my reputation to plummet. You should know that the gods only work for a day in tens of thousands of years. Recently, they don't even work, but I am running business every day. Humans should believe in me. I am diligent. Ignoring the devil's incessant chatter, the young girl stared at the witch in a daze. A person who even the devil had to understand would never put the blame on others. Perhaps, only such a person would be able to resist the temptation of continuing to trade with the devil. Congratulations, you are the first person to ask me for a map and get it, Aona Koizumi suddenly said. What? Miki Kujo's face was full of confusion, not understanding what she was talking about. Aona Koizumi didn't explain. Perhaps you can really find the world's end. When the time comes, please tell me where it is. Wait, I still haven't gotten the map. Before Miki Kujo could finish, Aona Koizumi left. What's going on? She was the only one left, muttering to herself. Do you need me to tell you? You can trade with death like the witch. The devil whispered into her ear. Thank you, but no need. The young girl pushed the devil's handsome face away without hesitation and continued forward. After the witch, the young girl found the second person who knew the secret, the shrine witch, even though she didn't have a map. After a conversation with the shrine witch, she also didn't get the actual map, but she found the third person who knew the secret. Finally, she came to the immortal realm and saw a fairy in a white dress. The young girl also changed her villager clothes into a white dress. The young girl left the immortal realm and went to the location of the first person who knew the secret, the witch, and prepared to leave a message for her. In the end, she accidentally communicated with someone and attracted the devil's attention. The devil followed the young girl to the immortal realm. The young girl was banished by the fairy, and there was no more immortal realm for humans. She rehearsed over and over again, sculpting every detail. After finishing her practice and returning to the club classroom, Aoi Ichiki leaned back exaggeratedly. I'm tired. It's 10 o'clock. Go take a shower. Aona Koizumi took out a blanket and prepared to make a bed. Shower. Wait a moment. Toru Watanabe stopped her. You're so annoying. Sensei, you go take a shower too. I'll make the bed. Toru Watanabe took the blanket from Aona Koizumi's hands. Aona Koizumi didn't insist. Sorry to trouble you. Aoi Ichiki and Toru Watanabe stayed, while the others took a change of clothes and went to the bath. I'm surprised. Rin Kiyono was carrying a basket of clothes. You're actually taking a shower with us. Anyway, I've already slept with Watanabe. It doesn't matter if we take a bath together. Miki Kujo said indifferently. Kujo-san. Aona Koizumi said awkwardly. Miki Kujo turned around and glanced at her. You haven't slept with him yet? After all, we're teacher and student. At least until graduation. Aona Koizumi explained in a low voice. You liked him when you were 16. Why do you care so much? Forget it, that's your business. Miki Kujo looked at my Asahi again. You've already slept with him, right? When was the first time? Miki Kujo asked. Last year's study trip. Later when we're taking a bath, Tell me what happened that night. I know the beginning, but I don't know the end. Do I have to talk about this? Aona Koizumi asked hesitantly. I want to know Toru's first time. Masahi stared at Miki Kujo without blinking. Fair trade, very reasonable. Miki Kujo repeated Toru Watanabe's lines from the play. You also have to talk about this. Aona Koizumi looked back and forth between the two of them. If you're not interested, you don't have to listen. Miki Kujo said to Aona Koizumi, then looked at Rin Kiyono with a smile. Boring stuff. Rin Kiyono was expressionless. In the changing room, the four of them took off their t-shirts, shorts, and underwear. 4 naked bodies were exposed to the air. Aona Koizumi used a towel to cover her chest and stomach. Looking at the other three's bodies, she couldn't help but compare them. She had the biggest breasts, followed by Miki Kujo and Masahi. As for Rin Kiyono, she had more than she looked, although she was still very small. Although her own was the biggest, Miki Kujo's was taller, white, and very attractive. And Masahi's looked soft, like cotton candy, which made people want to take a bite. Even if Rin Kiyono used her hands to squeeze, it would be difficult to get a cleavage, but the shape was beautiful, like 2 washed peaches. Not only the chest, but also the waist, butt, and legs. Everyone had their own unique features, but they were all very attractive, making people not know where to look. Koizumi, sensei, your breasts are very big. Miki Kujo said while comfortably soaking in the pool. Ah, thank you. Kujo-san's are prettier. Mine seems to be a bit bigger. Aona Koizumi sat in the pool with her hands on her knees. Toru said. Masahi held up her own chest. He likes the perfect size. Then I'm too big. Aona Koizumi quickly asked. It's better than being small. Miki Kujo hinted at a certain someone who had his eyes closed. But it's not up to you to decide the size. There's no need to care about your body for him. This is also what Watanabe said. The three of them soaked in the pool and talked about all kinds of topics about Toru Watanabe. Masahi told them about the night of the study trip. The story was full of twists and turns. First, it was the murderous rejection of the confession, and then it was Masahi's first time. I was kneeling on the porch, and he held my left hand with his hand. It's a habit. And then, it's too specific. It's okay if you don't have to be so specific. Aona Koizumi put her mouth in the pool and blew bubbles. That's amazing. Training, that's amazing. She thought with a red face. Chapter 335. It was already past 11 o'clock when everyone finished showering and lay under their blankets. Turn off the lights? Aona Koizumi called out, and the club classroom was immediately plunged into darkness. The curtains were drawn, and the moonlight couldn't enter. She used the light from her phone to return to her bed. The rectangular beach table was moved aside, and the wide side that previously faced the window was now the long side. In the empty space on the table, the three of them slept in this order. The window, Masahi, Aona Koizumi, Aoya Chiki, the door. The window, Rin Kiyono, Miki Kujo, Toru Watanabe, the wall by the door. They slept in this order on Miki Kujo's low table and sofa. The low table and sofa were also moved to the side. Miki Kujo was willing to sleep with Aona Koizumi, which surprised Toru Watanabe. It was the same when they showered together. It's my first time living in a school. What about you, sensei? Aoya Chiki turned her head and asked Aona Koizumi. I lived here once when I was in high school. Aona Koizumi replied softly, because of the earthquake, everyone in town gathered at my high school to take refuge. When I was in junior high school, I lived in a school because of the heavy snow. Toru Watanabe followed. I feel a little excited. Aoya Chiki squirmed under the blankets. It's time to sleep. Aona Koizumi reminded her. The club classroom quieted down, and Toru Watanabe could clearly hear the different breathing sounds of the 5 people. Some fell asleep quickly, and some took a long time to fall asleep. Even when everyone was asleep, he was still awake. It was almost 12 o'clock, and he would usually be asleep at this time. But after this Saturday and Sunday, it would be the long-planned play, and he would try to reconcile the two during the performance. The more he imagined that day in his mind, the clearer his mind was, and he didn't feel sleepy at all. Feeling that he wouldn't be able to fall asleep for a while, Toru Watanabe quietly lifted the blanket and prepared to go to the corridor to get some fresh air. The air that night was much cleaner than during the day, or maybe it was just a psychological effect. There weren't many stars in the sky. The brightest one was an airplane's avionics, one red and one green, flashing. Toru Watanabe's arm on the corridor's rail, and he looked at the quiet and lively Shinjuku. After half a minute, he heard footsteps in the corridor of the club building. Toru Watanabe turned his head and saw a slender head. Even in the dark, his figure was still indescribably beautiful. He didn't even need to look closely to know that it was Seino Rin. She was wearing a white t-shirt with a picture of a sleeping cat and a pair of shorts that looked like safety pants. Her two beautiful legs were exposed. Her skin was snow white, and under the moonlight, her entire body seemed to be glowing. "Did I wake you up?" Toru Watanabe asked. "Yes and no." Rin Kiyono elegantly crossed her arms and came to his side. Together with him, they looked at the Shinjuku district at night. "This is the first time I've slept in a strange place. I'm a light sleeper. A very soft sound will wake me up. I remember that you have this habit. I thought it was because you couldn't fall asleep, but it turns out that you're a light sleeper. What about you? It's the first time you've slept with so many girls that you're so close to. You're thinking about dirty things and can't sleep? Yeah, I want to crawl under your blanket, but Mickey is between us. It's a bit difficult. I woke up the moment you lifted the blanket. Is there any connection between you waking up and me crawling into your quilt?" Toru Watanabe asked curiously. "What happened after I crawled under your quilt? I gently lifted your quilt and saw your smooth, snow-white shoulders. This isn't a joke or an exaggeration. It was as if I could really smell your fragrance. I only saw a little bit of it, but my body suddenly heated up. What about my clothes? I slightly lifted the quilt and saw your collarbone. My body temperature was even higher. It was frighteningly high. It was at least 40 degrees, or maybe only 39 degrees. After all, I haven't had a cold for a long time." "Don't talk nonsense." Rin Kiyono sighed. Her voice was pleasant to the ear. "It's so hot. How can I stand it? So I put down the quilt and ran out to get some wind." "You really like to lie." Under the moonlight, Rin Kiyono seemed to smile sweetly. Toru Watanabe turned his face and said to her beautiful face under the moonlight, "I'm not lying. I just want to say all kinds of things to you." "Why?" Rin Kiyono turned her face and looked at him. Toru Watanabe didn't answer immediately. He withdrew his gaze from Rin Kiyono and looked at the night sky. The plane, with its lights flashing, moved very slowly in the night. "I don't think I went to see the fireworks this summer," he said. "I went on a trip," Rin Kiyono answered. "I want to go with you. Every year, I want to go to the festival once. I want to see you in a cool bathrobe and eat shaved ice. I want to see you in Nagoya or any other city late at night. I want to see you in a restaurant that's still open. What else? By the way, mountain climbing." "Mountain climbing in summer? Last year, I climbed Mount Takao," Toru Watanabe said with a smile. "This year, I also climbed a mountain." In short, Toru Watanabe turned his head and looked at Rin Kiyono. "I want to continue lying to you like I did tonight. I want to say a lot of things to you. I want to do a lot of things with you." Late at night, the air was clear, and it was easy for people to speak their minds. They couldn't help but open up their hearts to the people around them, as if they were looking at the distant shining stars. Gazing at her eyes that shone like the Milky Way, Toru Watanabe said the last sentence. "I like you." Rin Kiyono looked at his face for a long time. Suddenly, she lowered her head, then turned her face away and looked at the night sky like Toru Watanabe did. Although the plane in the night sky was moving very slowly, it was moving forward steadily bit by bit. No response. Toru Watanabe couldn't believe it. This is a confession of my love. You're making me sad. Watanabe. Rin Kiyono's tone was light. Toru Watanabe lowered his voice. Rin Kiyono seemed to be thinking about how to describe her feelings at this moment, but in the end, she gave up because she couldn't think of a suitable word. She changed the topic. Maybe a night like this won't happen again, but when I think about it, maybe at the end of a summer in the future, I'll be able to hear your rare honesty on a night as beautiful as today. My heart is filled with gratification and anticipation. Her voice was mixed with breath, and in the open space of the 5th floor, it sounded particularly clear. Is this a yes or no? Toru Watanabe stared at her with his dark eyes. Don't you understand a girl's heart very well? Rin Kiyono turned her head and said with a smile, Why can't you understand such a simple thing now? Yes. No. Toru Watanabe screamed softly. But, Rin Kiyono raised her right hand, which had been hugging her left elbow, and combed her beautiful bangs. I like you too. If I jump down now and die on the spot, it's okay. If you do that, I'll be very troubled. Then don't jump. Toru Watanabe let go of the corridor handrail. What should I do? I'm so hot right now. Do you want to buy a drink? It's my treat. Did you bring your wallet? Toru Watanabe was wearing a pair of shorts. The pockets were very large, but he didn't bring any money. No. Toru Watanabe touched his pockets and said straightforwardly. Rin Kiyono let go of her left hand, which was holding her right elbow, and her clean and slender hand was holding a simple and cute wallet. The most special thing is you, above everything else, my God, Rosen-san. Toru Watanabe reached for the wallet. Remember to give me the change, and pay me back, including my share. When he opened the wallet, the first thing he saw was Rin Kiyono's student card. Long black hair like lead powder, a cold little face like moonlight, a flower on a high mountain. As he commented, Toru Watanabe took out a $500 coin from the wallet. It's useless to praise me, remember to pay me back. You're so calculative about money? Whoever marries you in the future, won't they have no financial freedom at all? I advise you from now on, give me the $100 billion of unknown origin for safekeeping, so that you don't buy a house for someone else. I took your $500, but you're thinking about my $100 billion. The two came to the vending machine in the corner of the 5th floor. Other than the green escape sign, it was the only place that was lit up. A few insects, either late summer or early autumn, were clinging to the glass. The red machine's bright light was too dazzling for the eyes that were used to the darkness. Rin Kiyono glanced at it and then looked away. Toru Watanabe stuffed the coin into the machine and bought oolong tea and cola. The cola and Baotou bottles fell, making a clattering sound. The sound of drinks falling at night seems to be better than during the day, with a hint of loneliness. Toru Watanabe picked up the drinks and handed the Baotou bottle to Rin Kiyono. Remember to pay me back. Enough. And the 100 billion. That's mine. At 6 o'clock the next morning, Aona Koizumi was the first to wake up. She subconsciously looked at Toru Watanabe. The bed was empty. He must have gone for a morning jog. She looked at the others. Mayasahi was sleeping quietly with her face facing the classroom door. Aoi Ichiki's sleeping posture was very strange. She looked like she was sunbathing, but from her expression, she was sleeping very soundly. Aona Koizumi reached out and covered her with a blanket. Miki Kujo was facing Toru Watanabe. Her sleeping face was very cute, and she was snorting slightly. Rin Kiyono's sleeping posture was the most standard. She was exactly the same when she woke up. So there are people who don't change their posture after sleeping to maintain their beauty. She sighed in her heart and sat up. Sensei. Rin Kiyono sat up. She was woken up again. Did I wake you up? Aona Koizumi whispered. Sleep a little longer. It's still early until 7 o'clock. Rin Kiyono just shook her head. She was not in the mood to talk. Last night, she was woken up by Toru Watanabe. After that, she fell asleep. Aoi Ichiki would occasionally sleep talk or move around, which would wake her up. In the morning, she was woken up by Toru Watanabe. Now, it was Aona Koizumi who woke her up. She looked like she was sleep-deprived. The two of them left the bed. In order not to wake the others, they did not tidy up the blanket. Just like Toru Watanabe, they casually left it there. They changed their clothes quietly. Instead of going to the bathroom, they went to the sink in front of the music classroom on the 3rd floor where they washed their instruments. Outside the corridor window, they could see the track and the baseball field. On the track, Toru Watanabe ran laps by himself. Watanabe is really self-disciplined. Aona Koizumi squeezed some toothpaste. Ah. Rin Kiyono yawned. She was not interested in sports at all. The two of them washed up while watching Toru Watanabe on the track to pass the time. After washing up, the two of them went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. A simple curry with a bowl of soup will do. Rin Kiyono tied an apron around her waist. I'll cut the vegetables. Okay, I'll wash the rice. Aona Koizumi rolled up her sleeves, revealing her slender wrists. The two of them cooperated well. The food slowly took shape and started to smell delicious. The curry is almost ready. Aona Koizumi turned to Rin Kiyono. Me too. Rin Kiyono scooped some soup into a small plate and tasted it. Aona Koizumi looked at her side profile and couldn't help but say, Kiyono classmate is really beautiful. If I wasn't beautiful, Watanabe classmate wouldn't have stared at my legs since the day I joined the department. Aona Koizumi remembered that when she was using Toru Watanabe's body, she kept staring at Rin Kiyono's side profile. Her face instantly turned red. Fortunately, other people wouldn't remember the things that she was ashamed of. The soup is ready. Rin Kiyono nodded with satisfaction and put down the small plate. In the human observation department, all the blankets on the floor were put away, and the wooden table was put back to its original position. The 6 of them sat at the table and ate breakfast. The window was open, and the cool morning breeze came in with the smell of curry. They curiously flipped through the script that Rin Kiyono had placed beside them. The soup is so delicious. I can't get enough of the curry, Aoi Ichiki said with a happy face. There's more after we finish eating, Aona Koizumi said affectionately. Yeah. Aoi Ichiki nodded. For the culture festival, it's so interesting to sleep with everyone at school. It took me a long time to fall asleep last night. You seem to be in good spirits, Toru Watanabe said. Because I was in deep sleep the whole time, Aoi Ichiki said proudly. At this moment, Rin Kiyono yawned. Kiyono classmate, did you not sleep well? Aoi Ichiki asked. Miki Kujo glanced at Rin Kiyono and saw that she was slightly tired. Even though she knew that it was because she wasn't used to being in an unfamiliar place, she still mocked her. It's the first time I slept so close to Watanabe. Of course I couldn't sleep well. Wrong. Rin Kiyono calmly ate her curry rice with a spoon. This isn't the closest I've slept to Watanabe classmate. Miki Kujo looked at Toru Watanabe. Not only her, but the other 3 also looked over. Even the wind was blowing Toru Watanabe's bangs. How come I didn't know? Toru Watanabe was puzzled. He carefully recalled, but he didn't have any recollection of sleeping with Rin Kiyono. But Rin Kiyono wouldn't lie. Could it be that Rin Kiyono secretly slept next to him? That was impossible. No one could secretly sleep next to him unless he deliberately didn't notice. As expected of a man with 3 girlfriends, Rin Kiyono mocked. It's 1 girlfriend and 2 lovers. Although they seemed to have chatted a lot last night, Miki Kujo didn't care. She didn't care about those 2 people. It was only because of Toru Watanabe that her body didn't reject them. How come I didn't know about sleeping with you? Toru Watanabe really couldn't remember. Isn't it normal for Kiyono classmate to sleep with Kuan Watanabe? When she said this, Aoi Ichiki thought of my Asahi who was beside her. Senior Mai, who was so beautiful and had such a good figure, had also slept with Watanabe. Realizing this fact, Aoi Ichiki felt that even her curry didn't taste good. The four people, including Toru Watanabe, looked at Aoi Ichiki, but Aoi Ichiki was immersed in a faint sadness and didn't notice this scene. Rin Kiyono retracted her gaze and said to Toru Watanabe, "Last year during the cultural festival, on the day the typhoon ended, you came to my house and I slept next to you for the whole night." "Really, dear?" Miki Kujo asked Toru Watanabe with a smile. "Although it's the truth, it's too easy to misunderstand what you're saying." After Toru Watanabe finished speaking to Rin Kiyono, he explained to Miki Kujo. The next day was the cultural festival, and the movie hadn't finished editing yet. We ran into each other at the convenience store, so I went to help her. In the end, she was so tired that she fell asleep. I didn't even touch her as I buried myself in the editing of the movie. "Heartless man," Rin Kiyono said lightly. Miki Kujo looked at her face and asked with a smile, "You seem to be in a good mood today?" "Yes." Rin Kiyono picked up the bowl of soup and drank a mouthful in satisfaction. Chapter 336. After eating breakfast, they immediately began practicing their lines. The number of people in the school gradually increased. Many students chose to make use of the weekend to set up their classrooms and clubs. The sound of the choir could be heard in the courtyard and the sound of musical instruments never stopped. Classmate Itsuki, pay attention to your lines. It's a bit stiff here. Yes. Kujo classmate, pay attention to your tone. You are only teasing the demon because you are cheerful, not flirting with the demon. Nowadays, no matter what TV series or movies, love is the trend. What's wrong with adding a little bit of this element? Then, what is the point of girl looking for world's end? Why not stay and spend the rest of her life with the demon? It's not like she is really going to fall in love with the demon. She just needs to make the audience misunderstand and watch without blinking. This time's play does not pursue this. Change it. While everyone was arguing, mainly those two, the others would not argue with Rin Kiyono. The day passed in the blink of an eye. The completion rate is getting higher and higher. Clearly, this is everyone's first time performing a play, Aona Koizumi sighed. It's just one day of training, but the results are so different. Still, it's so tiring. Aoi Ichiki twisted her waist to stretch her body. There is still some time before the evening rehearsal. Everyone, get some rest. Rin Kiyono instructed. Watanabe classmate, I'll leave dinner to you. I'll let you all witness my undefeated strength while studying at Yuanyue Academy. Toru Watanabe's right index finger hooked his shirt collar. You're talking nonsense again. Rin Kiyono was already used to it. Dear, although I don't know what you are talking about, your culinary skills are quite average, right? Miki Kujo helped Toru Watanabe tie back on. I really did study at Yuanyue Academy. Toru Watanabe raised his neck, allowing her to fix his collar. What is Yuanyue Academy? Aona Koizumi asked. It's a famous culinary high school. I've never heard of it. That's a rather famous high school in Tokyo. The first time I went there, I walked all the way back to the dormitory after sunset, and Koizumi-sensei, Rin Kiyono said to Aona Koizumi, who was listening attentively, don't pay attention to him. It's probably another fictional school from some anime. Moreover, the conditions for entering the school are extremely harsh, Toru Watanabe continued. The students who can graduate from there are all future stars of the culinary world. Aona Koizumi smiled gently at Rin Kiyono, then turned to look at Toru Watanabe curiously. After these people graduate, are they going to serve Kujio classmate? Is there a young lady like a Kino classmate? I don't think so. Oh. Aoi Ichiki looked at Toru Watanabe with an expression that said, after talking for so long, that's all there is to it. I already said that they are future stars and need a few more years of training. The main reason is that their levels are too high. I've even eaten a discount lunch from the supermarket, Rin Kiyono directly interrupted Toru Watanabe. Hurry up and cook. Yes, Commander. After eating the average fried rice and resting for a while, the 6 of them went to the gymnasium. Walking in the corridor and looking out the window, they could see that there were already many outdoor stalls set up on the long road between the school gate and the school dormitory. Cotton candy from the basketball club, octopus balls from the table tennis club, grilled sausages from the track and field club, candy apples from the baseball club, sports clubs. Should they say that it's creative, or that it's hopeless? Rehearsing in the gymnasium was completely different from rehearsing in the club classroom. Standing on the stage and looking at the vast field that could seat all the teachers and students, they couldn't help but feel nervous. If you're nervous now, once the seats are full, are you going to perform a mime? If you're afraid of speaking in front of people, how can you perform a play? Start over. Director Kiyono was as strict as ever. In addition to rehearsing the play, they also checked and practiced the props and lighting. They practiced until 10 o'clock. After taking a shower, Mayasahi put on her headphones and listened to music. Aona Koizumi prepared the lesson plan, and the other 4 did their homework. The pen made a sha-sha sound on the paper. Occasionally, someone would flip through a reference book, and the sha-sha sound became the loudest sound in the club classroom. After finishing their homework, the 6 of them ate the watermelon delivered by Miki Kujo's subordinates. It's so sweet. Aoi Ichiki couldn't help but smile as she ate. Let's buy some fireworks too. It feels like summer, Aona Koizumi said with a smile. Teacher, are you going to buy fireworks for us? Aoi Ichiki immediately asked. It's very late now. Let's do it tomorrow. Aona Koizumi thought for a while. I'll buy some for you after dinner. That's great. Senior, we can set off fireworks. Mayasahi tilted her head and asked Rin Kiyono calmly, are we still going to stay on campus tomorrow night? No need. Rin Kiyono finished a slice of watermelon and stood up to wash her hands. We're dismissed at 4. Ah. Aoi Ichiki took a bite of the watermelon in disappointment, and a faint red circle appeared around her lips. The next day, the training was as usual. The only difference from yesterday was that during lunch break, Kaori Hayami, the head of the wind department, who was also preparing for the cultural festival, suddenly came to visit. Please enjoy. Toru Watanabe placed a glass of watermelon juice beside Kaoru Hayami's hand. Thank you, Kuin Watanabe. Kaoru Hayami raised the glass with both hands and took a sip. It's so refreshing, so delicious. What's the matter? Rin Kiyono sat by her window, and beside her was a script full of important points. It's like this. Kaoru Hayami put down the glass and said softly, in October, the 3rd grade will withdraw from the blowing department. Kiyono classmate is the one who understands the strength of the blowing department the best, so I wanted to ask if you have a recommendation for a new head? Head? Toru Watanabe asked. Yes. Toru Watanabe thought of his good friend in Kyoto. Because the school did not qualify for the national competition, the 3rd grade withdrew early. She had already taken over as the head of the blowing department and had even sent a video to show off. He recalled the first time they met. At that time, they were still in their first year of high school. In the blink of an eye, she was already reliable enough to be the head. Everyone was growing. Senior, can you not withdraw from the blowing department? Everyone will miss you. Aoi Ichiki was very reluctant. I'll miss everyone too. Kaoru Hayami sighed and said, Chowzi and I have already decided to go to Tokyo University together and participate in the blowing department with my senpai. Really? Aoi Ichiki looked at Mayasahi. Yes. Mayasahi nodded. I've decided. Koizumi, senpai, I want to go to Tokyo University as well. Do your best. Aona Koizumi encouraged him gently. Kiyono classmate, can you please recommend a candidate for the head of the blowing department? Kaoru Hayami asked Rin Kiyono again. Rin Kiyono glanced at Toru Watanabe. This was asking him to be the translator. What she meant was, the blowing department is fine with whoever is the next head. About the blowing department, I think it's better for Aoi-senpai to make the decision yourself. Toru Watanabe tried to be tactful. Kaoru Hayami often came to the Human Observation Department, and the two of them often went to the Blowing Department. Kaoru Hayami was very familiar with their relationship. He knew that if Toru Watanabe said so, Rin Kiyono also had the same idea. I see. Kaoru Hayami was troubled. I'm a bit indecisive. I don't have any ideas, so I can't make a decision. Senpai. Aoi Ichiki grabbed Kaoru Hayami's thin wrist and looked at her like a puppy. What about me? Kue? Okay. Aoi Ichiki let go of her hand. She knew that she didn't have the qualities to be ahead. Does Kuen Watanabe have a candidate in mind? Kaoru Hayami asked Toru Watanabe. Me? Toru Watanabe was about to say no, but he suddenly remembered the scene he saw in the sewing classroom a few days ago. He changed his mind and said, What about Yoshimi Tamamo? Aoi Ichiki? Aoi Ichiki confirmed in surprise. Yoshimi Tamamo said so many bad things about Toru Watanabe in front of her, but Toru Watanabe recommended her. Poor Kuen Watanabe, but I'll never betray Aoi. Kuen Watanabe, maybe you don't know, but Aoi doesn't have many friends in the club. Kaoru Hayami explained awkwardly. Is that so? Toru Watanabe didn't care about these things. I thought that since she works so hard, even if they don't like her, there should be many people who approve of her. If that's the case, then Aoi does work harder than most people. Kaoru Hayami suddenly realized this. But, as the head of the club, compared to playing skills, you should pay more attention to the relationships between the club members. Of course, playing is also very important. Toru Watanabe obviously understood this principle. Why did you recommend Tamamo-san? Rin Kiyono asked Toru Watanabe. I thought you didn't like people like her? This has nothing to do with whether I like her or not. I just think that letting her become the head of the club might be a good thing for her and for the club. From a person who didn't like to work hard to a person who worked hard silently, what would she become after becoming the head of the club? Thinking about Yoshimi Tamamo's rapid improvement in playing skills, maybe she could become a person who worked hard to become a great person in the future. He used to wonder how she got into Kamigawa, but now that he thought about it, she must have worked hard for a period of time in middle school. Toru Watanabe then said to Kaoru Hayami, This is my personal opinion. It's not an official order from the Human Observation Department to the Blowing Club. Senpai Hayami, don't take it to heart. Yes. Kaoru Hayami smiled bitterly. The Blowing Club was a subsidiary of the Human Observation Department. This joke was first made by Toru Watanabe. Now, let alone the Wind Instrument Department, even Seino Rin had been subtly influenced to treat the Wind Instrument Department like a subsidiary department. But it wasn't a bad thing. Many people in the Blowing Club even hoped that Rin Kiyono would directly take care of them. I'll think about it. Thank you, Kiyono-san. Thank you, Kuen Watanabe. Kaoru Hayami finished his watermelon juice and stood up. Senpai Hayami, what about the vice head? Won't you consider me? Aoi Ichiki walked her out. I plan to let the new head decide who the next vice head will be. The door to the club classroom closed, and the conversation between the two suddenly became distant. It was like a third-year student leaving the club. They were still in the same school, but the distance between them suddenly became very, very far. In the blink of an eye, it'll be our turn. Toru Watanabe stared at the door in a daze. High school was coming to an end, and the Human Observation Department was about to end its short life. This club classroom, which carried so many memories, might become a storage room again. When the sun shone in, it would be filled with dust. Che! Masahi stared at his expression. Nothing. Toru Watanabe snapped out of his daze. He sat down on a chair and looked at the four girls in front of him. I have a sudden urge to stop time. We can't go anywhere if we stay where we are. Rin Kiyono took the script and flipped through it. That's true. Toru Watanabe nodded his head. If they stayed where they were, Rin Kiyono and Miki Kujo would never reconcile. The relationship between him and Rin Kiyono would forever stop here. He had yet to give my Asahi and Aona Koizumi enough happiness. He had to work hard. He had to keep going. He had to make the 5 of them happy together. Then let's keep going, Toru Watanabe said firmly. Let's go to World's End together. My Asahi and Aona Koizumi thought that he was talking about making the play a success. Miki Kujo knew the inside story. Rin Kiyono asked with a puzzled look. The name of the script is World's End and the Grim Wonderland. We know what a wonderland is, but there is no explanation for World's End. When I was writing the script, I had a premonition. You have a premonition again? Rin Kiyono placed her hand on her cherry blossom-colored lips and said with a smile. Your smile is so annoying, Reza-san. What premonition? Miki Kujo, who had been lying on the sofa playing games, asked. After we finish the play, the world will soon come to an end, Toru Watanabe said. Of course, it won't be the end of the world. The end of the world. My Asahi repeated those words. Thinking that it was a good idea, she gently nodded her head. If it's not the end of the world, then what does it mean? Aona Koizumi asked curiously. I don't have a premonition about that yet. I'll tell you when I know, Toru Watanabe said intimately. You're talking nonsense again. Hurry up and do what you need to do. Rin Kiyono didn't even raise her head. Speaking of what I want to do, from the first day of school, I have always wanted to do something. Toru Watanabe tore off the sleeves of Miki Kujo's clothes that she took off this morning and made 5 armbands. He wrote, Supervisor, Village Girl, Devil, Witch, and Witch. Come, put it on for you. My Asahi stretched out her hand, letting him put it on for her. Aona Koizumi looked at the armband with amusement, and cooperatively put it on her arm. Are you a child? Rin Kiyono coldly looked at the armband, and then looked at Toru Watanabe. Men are sometimes children. They often have childish ideas, but they never get tired of it. They like to bully the people they like. Recently, I heard someone say this sentence. Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe and suddenly laughed. Her cheerful smiling face was as clean and fresh as the snow on top of the mountain. Because of this smile, the hot and stuffy club classroom suddenly became comfortable and cool. Toru Watanabe's heart was like a dandelion seed, fluttering with the wind in the blue afternoon sky. Only for a while. Rin Kiyono stretched out her hand, took the armband with the word Supervisor written on it, and put it on her left hand. Halfway through, she suddenly realized, when I said that sentence, you weren't there, right? Because you and Miki were quarreling, I hid outside and didn't dare to come in. Was I witty? Now that you mention it, I remember, you caused me to have to go to PE class, right? Rin Kiyono was about to take off the armband again. Wait, didn't I also buy drinks? I bought all the flavors from the vending machine for you to choose. Barely. Rin Kiyono put on the armband. Toru Watanabe took the last one and squatted in front of Miki Kujo, who was playing a game on the sofa. Give me your hand, he said. Miki Kujo glanced at him, then looked at the screen for a while, and asked, What is it? Just give me your hand. Troublesome, hurry up. Miki Kujo impatiently stretched out her left hand. Toru Watanabe grabbed her slender wrist and put the armband on her. After everything that had happened last night, he stood up with satisfaction and looked around. My dream has come true, Toru Watanabe. Kujo suddenly became angry. What did you put on me? It's worn clothes, and it even says Village Girl. Get over here. I ate too much watermelon and need to go to the bathroom. Does anyone want to come with me? Toru Watanabe asked. My Asahi, who was wearing the witch armband, stood up. I'll go too. Training is about to start. Which, Aona Koizumi also stood up. After hearing this, Rin Kiyono's eyes, which were still looking at the script, revealed a thoughtful expression. When those mesmerizing eyes came back to their senses and became a clear lake again, she closed the script and stood up gracefully. Toru Watanabe, I told you to come here. Miki Kujo's voice was cold. Ah, Rin Kiyono covered her mouth with her hand and laughed. Make your choice, Watanabe-san. Toru Watanabe glanced at Miki Kujo, who was alone, and then looked at Rin Kiyono, Mayasahi, and Aona Koizumi. How should he choose? Chapter 337. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your hard work. The short drama training came to an end. The 6 of them took their luggage and left the colorful campus. Mayasahi walked at the back of the group. Her eyes were fixed on Toru Watanabe, who was discussing what to eat tonight with Miki Kujo. Perhaps it was because of the approaching typhoon, but the setting sun was a gorgeous color. Toru Watanabe's face was faintly glowing. Kun Watanabe, how about we go eat mutton again today? Aoi Ichiki suggested, her mouth full of saliva. Toru Watanabe turned around. No, that's too repetitive. The goal of the Human Observation Department is to eat all the delicacies in Tokyo. I don't remember setting this goal. As the vice president, I think it's reasonable to set a short-term goal for the club. As the president, I don't think it's reasonable or reasonable. Then what are my rights as the vice president? Listen to me. And listen to me. Teacher advisor, aren't you going to control them? Students are self-governing. First, he would chat with Rin Kiyono, then Miki Kujo would join in. Sometimes, the order would be reversed. He would chat with Miki Kujo first, then Rin Kiyono. From time to time, he would drag Aona Koizumi into the club in the name of asking for help. This was the daily routine for the past few days. Mayasahi kept her eyes on Toru Watanabe. Senpai, look, the tree is full of them. Aoi Ichiki suddenly shouted. She looked at the huge oak tree. Its lush green leaves were already covered with ribbons. She only looked at it for a second before she looked away and continued to watch Toru Watanabe. He was looking at the oak tree. Let me see. He craned his neck and said, the propaganda of the tea ceremony department, the kendo department, and our class. It even says Kun Watanabe fried rice. Someone, don't disappoint all the girls in the school, Rin Kiyono said sarcastically. Are you looking down on the graduates of Yuanyue Academy? If you want to lie, you should make it more realistic, Miki Kujo said casually. You said that Yuanyue Academy is a high school, how could you be a graduate? I said middle school. Mayasahi was different from other people. Ever since she was young, other people's voices had always sounded unreal to her. She existed in this world, but she was separated from this world by a layer. It was as if she had always been in a transparent glass bottle. Her father had a relationship with a young female subordinate in the company. Seeing her mother sad, she knew that she should comfort her, but she couldn't understand her mother's feelings at all. When her parents were about to divorce, they asked her who she wanted to be with. She looked at them and said, Mother. At that time, her mother hugged her tightly, as if she was holding on to all hope, and said a lot of words. While being hugged, she was expressionless. The reason why she chose her mother was because her father did something wrong. She didn't sympathize with her mother, and it wasn't because she loved her mother more. Family love was so thin that it could only occasionally dye the outside of the glass bottle with color, but it was quickly washed away by the rain of time. Nothing could enter the glass bottle. Mayasahi had always been inside. The container that was like her heart had nothing, it was an empty shell. Her father left the family with nothing. She and her mother sold the house in Setagaya district and moved to Shujio district. She and her mother began to live together. They didn't become closer, and they rarely talked. Not long after, her mother suddenly became happy. She didn't ask why, until her mother said that she wanted to remarry. She asked if she had any opinion. She didn't have any opinion. She was fine with anything. Thus, she had a new father, and her mother had a new husband. Soon, the two children were born together. Her mother, who would occasionally talk to her, turned her attention to her sister. She lived in this family like an outsider, like the potted plant at the edge of the balcony. She was neither disappointed nor happy. Her parents asked her to go out to eat and play, and she went. Her parents took her sister out to eat and play without telling her. She stayed at home alone to watch TV and read books. These two things were the same to her. There was no difference. Mayasahi, who didn't have any attachment to anyone. She was so lonely but not lonely. She was strong but seemed weak. In fact, she lived a good life for 17 years until May 28 last year. It was a sunny day after 2 consecutive rainy days. At noon, Asako Hanada, who often invited her, had lunch together in the corridor on the 5th floor. There were musical instruments and music stands beside her. She was ready to practice after lunch. Toru Watanabe walked over from the teaching building. He was about to pass by here to go to the club building. She didn't notice that it was Asako Hanada who suddenly stood up that made her notice Toru Watanabe's arrival. By the standards of ordinary people, Toru Watanabe was a very handsome boy. Mayasahi wasn't interested in appearance, no, in people, in anything. She was about to lower her head and continue eating. "Senior Hanada, good afternoon." The boy greeted her with a smile. She was about to lower her head when she suddenly stopped. It was a mesmerizing smile. What a nice smile. She couldn't help but think. The glass bottle sank into a colorful dye vat, leaving only the mouth of the bottle outside. The next moment, Toru Watanabe seemed to realize something and quickly stopped smiling. For some reason, the glass bottle sank completely into the vat as if it had sensed something. Colorful colors rushed in from the mouth of the bottle. No, it wasn't a dye vat. It was placed on the balcony. The sun shone on it, and the light warmed the body of the glass bottle. It also reflected rainbow-like colors on the inner wall. It should feel so warm, clean, and bright. From then on, the world was no longer indifferent. She, who didn't care about people, had the happiness she wanted. She wanted to understand this boy and absorb all the colors in his soul to fill the empty shell called Mayasahi. The other people's voices were separated by the glass. Only Toru Watanabe's voice could be heard. It was like whispering to the mouth of the bottle. Every sentence, every breath, moistened her heart like mist. She wanted to be with him. Mayasahi wanted to be with Toru Watanabe. Slowly probing and passionately attacking. Before the study trip, she thought that he was going to confess to her. That day, she stood in front of the door of the tram on the way home. The glass reflected her calm face. She looked at this face and imagined the study trip. That was the first time she had fantasized about the future. She closed her eyes and leaned her head against the door of the tram. That calm face of hers raised a faint smile. She gently played with a strand of hair by her ear. But that wasn't the case. Toru Watanabe rejected her and said that she was a despicable person who only wanted money. He strangled her neck with both hands and said that he wanted to kill her. Mayasahi quietly closed her eyes. For the first time, she felt helpless and alone. She didn't blame Toru Watanabe and didn't care what kind of person Toru Watanabe was. At that time, she still longed for the warmth of Toru Watanabe's hands when he strangled her neck. Dinner was already over when she reminisced about this. Mayasahi didn't remember what she ate, but someone seemed to have talked to her. She also couldn't remember how she answered. She probably just said, "Mm." The only thing she remembered was that when everyone clinked glasses, she clinked her glass with Toru Watanabe's. That was the happiest thing that day, other than Toru Watanabe putting on her sleeves. After they parted in the elevator and left Toru Watanabe, she really entered the night. When she returned to her room, the decorations were very warm. Toru Watanabe bought her nothing less or more. She put her luggage aside and put the roses and script on the table. She bent her knees and sat on the sofa to rest. According to the book, she loved Toru Watanabe, but she couldn't tell if this was love. She didn't care how bad he was to her, as long as he was with her. She didn't care how many girlfriends he had, as long as he was with her. Was loving someone to the extent that one's heart could only be comforted by being with them? The love she saw in books and on TV didn't seem to be like this. Mayasahi hugged her knees and stared at the champagne-colored roses on the table for a long time. She wasn't happy to receive the flowers from him. Was this an expression of love? But when she looked at him, her mood naturally became happy. His even and long breaths. His slender and strong legs. His laughter, which was rare but always left a deep impression, was either light or heavy. He was careless and couldn't tell which words were true and which were false. His footsteps were neither light nor heavy. Every step he took was very steady. It was dry and cool, with messy but stylish hair occasionally. She liked every part of him. She liked everything about him. She had to have him. Mayasahi remained in a bent position and fell on the sofa. He had no family and did not care about his family. It did not matter if his family did not care about him. She didn't have any friends. She didn't care about her friends. It didn't matter if she was neglected by her friends. Toru Watanabe was special to her. He was her everything. She, Mayasahi, was a person who had nothing other than Toru Watanabe and wanted nothing else. Che. As long as she closed her eyes, every word Toru Watanabe said to her, every touch when he hugged her, would appear in the depths of her heart. She relied on recollections to pass all the time without Toru Watanabe by her side. This was good. She was already very satisfied. After dinner, Toru Watanabe went up to the 6th floor. When he opened the door, the warm lights in the room were on, but he didn't see Mayasahi's figure. Senior. He changed his shoes and walked into the living room. Mayasahi was curled up on the sofa, sleeping peacefully. Toru Watanabe walked softly to the sofa and quietly looked at her sleeping face. Mayasahi's sleeping face was rare. When the two of them were together, if he was awake, she would definitely be awake. Her delicate and pretty face, those thin and soft lips, and the long hair that fell over her shoulders, made her look a little weak. Toru Watanabe sat cross-legged on the floor. His elbows were on his knees, and his palms were on his chin as he looked at her quietly. The weather was still hot. As she slept, small beads of sweat appeared on her forehead. Her bangs stuck to her head, and she looked uncomfortable. Toru Watanabe turned his head to look at the table. He gently took out the script from under the rose and gently fanned her. Although it was weak, the cool and continuous wind made Mayasahi fall back into a deep sleep. Mayasahi's long eyelashes trembled as she made a small nasal sound and slowly opened her eyes. You're awake. Toru Watanabe chuckled. Che. Mayasahi sat up. When did he come? Not long. About half an hour. Toru Watanabe didn't look at his watch and said uncertainly. Why didn't you wake me up? Why should I wake you up? What's the matter? I want to stay with Che for a while longer. Sleeping is a waste. Mayasahi slid out of bed and sat on Toru Watanabe's lap. She put her hands on his shoulders. Looking at Mayasahi, who said these words in a flat tone, Toru Watanabe's heart was filled with all kinds of emotions. These emotions intertwined and converged into an unwavering belief. He must give Mai a happy future. Toru Watanabe put down the script, opened his arms, and hugged Mayasahi's waist. There's still a long time. We have a lot of half an hour. And for me, it's a pleasure to watch you sleep. Let me be willful with you occasionally. Mayasahi stared at Toru Watanabe. The two kissed. It was a very short kiss. It's so warm. Mayasahi whispered the feeling of the kiss. It's so warm. Toru Watanabe kissed her again. The two hugged each other tightly. They were entwined together like a silk thread. If he wanted to untie this thread, he had to cut it directly. Monday, the 57th Cultural Festival in Kamigawa. I saw on TV this morning that a typhoon is coming. No way. Must it be at this time? But it seems like there won't be any problems today. It won't land until evening. I hope it'll be over in one night. What about the stalls outside? Put them away after school. Whether we can do it tomorrow depends on whether the typhoon has left or what the school wants. The students who came earlier than usual discussed the typhoon while preparing for the opening of the store. Our play is on the second day. What if the typhoon comes and we can't perform? It's rare that we rehearsed for so long. In front of the blackboard, Aoi Ichiki said worriedly. Do what you should do and what you can do. Don't worry about the rest. Rin Kiyono wrote the slogan and the menu on the blackboard. Miki Kujo drew pictures of the dishes on the blackboard. This was the content of the two girls' class activities. At this time, the second-year Class 4 had been set up as a dining hall. It was near the window in the atrium, and the tables were put together to form a recess. The guests came in, ordered at the podium, and sat down in the numbered seats. The students on the podium would send the orders and the numbers to the dining area. When the chefs were ready, the boys and girls who acted as waiters, dressed in maid outfits, would bring the dishes to the table. The drinks were bought from the supermarket and were sold separately. They were charged 50 yuan per cup. The 5 chefs on duty for the first round and 3 helpers were already in the cooking area. Kuan Watanabe, if you need any ingredients, just tell me. Thank you, Kimura classmate. Are you ready? We're about to let the guests in. The student in charge of receiving the guests at the door shouted. Yes. The female class monitor also shouted back. The first batch of guests were mostly girls, with only a few boys. What do you need? There's a menu on the blackboard, Aoi Ichiki, who was in charge of the cashier, said. All right, Kuan Watanabe is responsible for fried rice. What's this black thing? Soy sauce fried rice, soy sauce? Let's go with mushroom fried rice. Okay, 1 serving of mushroom fried rice. What do you need to drink? Water is free, and wheat tea is 50 yuan per cup, wheat tea. In order to let everyone try all kinds of delicious food, the amount of fried rice is very small. Do you want to add fried noodles or grilled sausages? No, I just want to eat Kuan Watanabe's fried rice. Okay. Another student handed the order to the helper, and the helper brought it to Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe picked up the egg and cracked it with one hand. The egg yolk exploded in the pot, and then he added in the sausage, corn, rice, and mushroom. He kept stir-frying until steam came out of the pot and the rice jumped in the pot, and then he drizzled the color of the soy sauce. Finally, he switched to high heat and fiercely stir-fried. The fried rice and the ingredients were distinct, and they poured down like a waterfall from the sky. Wow! Kuan Watanabe is so handsome. The female staff in the class and the female guests all took out their phones to take pictures. Finally, he sprinkled chopped green onions, and after smelling the green onions, he turned the table. Sorry for the hospitality. Toru Watanabe showed the bright color of the mushroom fried rice with golden eggs and green onions. The cultural festival had begun. Chapter 338. The weather was still fine, and a gust of wind occasionally blew through the blue sky. The calligraphy department's large banner, Kamigawa Festival, made a rustling sound. In the gymnasium, the stick dance department was performing on stage, and the wind department was preparing behind the scenes. The wind department had more than 100 members, but only 80 came this time, led by the department head, Kaoru Hayami. Did you hear? Heard what? The girls holding all kinds of instruments whispered to each other. I'm talking about Tamamo becoming the next department head. Yoshimi Tamamo from the trombone department. She's the only one in the wind department with the surname Tamamo. Why should she be the next department head? Are you talking about that rumor? Rumor? It hasn't been confirmed yet? I heard from the third-year seniors that Zaoki Senpai is still considering. Why her? It said that Zaoki Senpai went to the Human Observation Department, and after she came back, she began to consider Tamamo. Human Observation Department? Is it Kiyono classmates' opinion? No. The girl with the flute lowered her voice. It's Kuan Watanabe. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Aren't they on bad terms? Tamamo often talks bad about Kuan Watanabe. By the way, isn't it too early to start thinking about the next department head? There's still the national competition. The third years of the other clubs will withdraw after the cultural festival. Maybe it's because of this, so our department head is thinking about these things in advance. The best way to keep a secret was to not tell anyone. The news quickly spread to Yoshimi Tamamo's trombone department. The girls in the wind department who were close to Yoshimi Tamamo secretly asked her if this was true. Yoshimi Tamamo had no clue. Toru Watanabe didn't tell her, and Kaoru Hayami didn't talk to her. Welcome to the performance of the wind department. Last month, we got the qualification to enter the national competition. Next month, we will try to bring back good news from Nagoya. After the performance, Yoshimi Tamamo found an excuse to separate from her friends and went to the second-year class 4 alone. She just wanted to talk to Toru Watanabe, but she couldn't get in. There was a long line in front of the classroom. In order to let the guests have a good dining environment, the number of people was limited, and curtains were used to cover the glass to block the outside. He was caught in a dilemma of whether to wait or not. Beautiful. Tamamo no Momi looked over and saw that it was a boy from her class. Are you here? Do you want me to give you my seat? No need. After rejecting the boy, Tamamo walked to the back of the group. Just treat it as lunch. She put on her headphones and listened to Chong Zhao's music to pass the time. When it was finally her turn, she heard a familiar voice as soon as she walked in. Sorry for the inconvenience. She pursed her lips and walked to the podium. Welcome. It's beautiful. Aoi Ichiki greeted her happily. Kwai. Yoshimi Tamamo took off one of her headphones. Are you the cashier? Aoi Ichiki struggled to lift up a metal box that was originally used to store biscuits. See. It's all money. There are so many customers. Thanks to Kuan Watanabe. Do you want some fried rice? As a friend, I can give you half price, no need. Fried noodles. Yoshimi Tamamo sat in the freshly cleaned seat and looked at Toru Watanabe in the cooking area. She realized that she had waited in line for nothing. How could she talk to him with so many people? Customer, your fried noodles and tea. Thank you. Yoshimi Tamamo looked at the boy in front of her who was wearing a maid outfit and pretending to be elegant. She didn't hide her disgust at all. It's noon. It's time to change shifts. Thank you for your hard work. A new group of students entered the cooking area and replaced Toru Watanabe and the others who had been busy all morning. No, I haven't eaten Kuan Watanabe's fried rice yet. It's my turn. Sorry, please come back tomorrow afternoon. Seeing Toru Watanabe take off his apron and prepare to leave the classroom with Aoi Ichiki, Yoshimi Tamamo didn't like the fried noodles anymore and hurriedly followed them. After leaving the classroom, she stopped the two in the hallway. Beautiful. Aoi Ichiki looked at her in confusion. She was supposed to be eating. Kwai, can I talk to Watanabe alone for a while? Yoshimi Tamamo requested. Sure. Aoi Ichiki turned to Toru Watanabe and said, Kuan Watanabe, I'll be going first. After watching Aoi Ichiki leave, Toru Watanabe asked Yoshimi Tamamo, Why are you looking for me? If you want to borrow money, you have to write an IOU. Who wants to borrow money? Yoshimi Tamamo subconsciously retorted. She looked around and said, Follow me. In order to avoid the crowd, Toru Watanabe followed Yoshimi Tamamo to the stairs that led to the rooftop on the 5th floor. The door to the rooftop was locked with a rusty iron lock. Unlike the scenes in anime where people often ate lunch on the rooftop, in reality, the rooftop wasn't a comfortable place. It was hot in the summer and cold in the winter. Most importantly, the school wouldn't open it to students. Apart from students who wanted to do bad things in school, no one would go to such a place. He even deliberately put his hands behind his head and slept on the dirty floor. What are you planning? Why did you recommend me to be the head? Yoshimi Tamamo asked in a questioning tone. Because you're talented. Do you mean that I have to work hard to be able to join Group A, or that I have to attend the summer tutoring because my grades are at the bottom? Yoshimi Tamamo's face suddenly came up and she poked Toru Watanabe's chest with her finger. Toru Watanabe leaned back slightly to avoid physical contact. There are people downstairs. If you act recklessly, I'll call for help," he said. Yoshimi Tamamo didn't panic at all. She unbuttoned her shirt and threatened him. "If you don't explain yourself, I'll call you a pervert." Toru Watanabe's gaze turned to the bottom of the stairs where the 100-man team was setting up a challenge. "A few days ago, I saw you practicing alone in the corner of the school. When my senior sister came to ask about it, I recommended you. You peeked at my chest at that time, didn't you?" "Peeked? Forget it." Toru Watanabe was too lazy to ask how many misunderstandings there were. "I only recommended you to be the head. Why do you care so much? You want to see me make a fool of myself." Yoshimi Tamamo had a look of certainty. "Idiot." Toru Watanabe didn't hold back. "What did you say?" "I said it's because you're talented." What do you mean?" Yoshimi Tamamo still looked like she was pestering him endlessly, but she was still human. Deep down, she secretly looked forward to Toru Watanabe's answer. "Work hard. Work hard counts as talent." "Of course it counts." Toru Watanabe explained. "In this world, there are many things that can be done as long as you work hard. You can get into a good school and get a stable and high-paying job. It's not that easy." "Yeah, it's not easy. People who can do these things are envied by most people." "Why?" "Because it's not easy." Yoshimi Tamamo glanced at Toru Watanabe with a look that said, "Do you even need to ask?" But she realized that he wasn't looking at her. She looked down at her chest. It was white and round, and it made people salivate just by looking at it. "Hypocrite." She muttered in a low voice and buttoned up her shirt. Toru Watanabe ignored her muttering and didn't care about her actions. He said, "For most people, these things can be done as long as they work hard. But the seemingly simple work isn't something that everyone can do. It's a talent that can be obtained at any time, but there are very, very few people who can obtain it. You are one of the few who have it. There are many people who work hard in the playing department." "Why me?" Yoshimi Tamamo played with her hair with her fingers, secretly delighted. "Because I want to see what you will become." "What do you mean? You really want to see me make a fool of myself?" "If possible, I hope that you can rely on your hard work and talent to become the center of attention, not just relying on your appearance." Toru Watanabe retracted his gaze from the 100 people in the playing department and looked straight at Yoshimi Tamamo. "Haven't you been doing the same?" "None of your business." Yoshimi Tamamo's tone suddenly became fierce, but even the typhoon that hadn't arrived yet could hear her bluff. After a moment of silence, just as Toru Watanabe was about to end the conversation, she asked fiercely, "What should a department head do?" If you, Toru Watanabe didn't mind her tone, first, remember the names of the 100 or so people in the playing department. This was completely different from the department head that Yoshimi Tamamo had imagined. But just as she was about to retort, she realized that she really didn't know that many people. Not to mention a playing department with more than 100 people, she didn't even know the full names of the boys and girls in a class of 40 people. This had nothing to do with memory. The key was whether or not she cared. Unable to retort, she changed the topic. Yoshimi Tamamo said mockingly, "You're the same age as me, but you think you're infallible and say a lot of things. It's not really about things. It's just a summary of life. And whether you're old or young isn't important. What's important is what you've experienced." "Humph." Yoshimi Tamamo pouted, then reached out her hand and said reluctantly, "Let's make up." In order to avoid school rules as much as possible, her fair hands were painted with light nail polish. "I already have a girlfriend. There's no need to shake hands." "Tisk," Yoshimi Tamamo immediately retracted her hand. "Don't talk like you're a devoted man. It's disgusting. Also, if you don't make up with Hao Mei, don't blame Hao Mei for saying bad things about you. As long as she doesn't say that I molested you. I'm going to rehearse a play. You do your best. Goodbye." Toru Watanabe waved his hand and turned to leave the stairs. After watching Toru Watanabe disappear, Yoshimi Tamamo took out a small mirror from her pleated skirt pocket and fixed her bangs and makeup, making sure that she looked the most beautiful in front of her classmates. Because you're talented. She looked at herself in the mirror. She had bright and lively eyes and a delicate face. She was so beautiful. Department head. Her shoulders suddenly became heavy. She took a deep breath. Along with the pressure came anticipation for the future. Her blood began to surge, and she had the urge to do something immediately. Okay. First, I'll remember the names of more than 100 people in the department. Yoshimi Tamamo closed the mirror and walked briskly down the stairs. What did you say? As soon as Toru Watanabe entered the club classroom, Miki Kujo, who was casually reading a script, asked. Aoi Ichiki, who had arrived early, had already told her the reason why he was late. I told her that hard work is also talent. She needs to have confidence in herself. Miki Kujo looked up and looked at him. You're quite gentle. I have no interest in her at all. I don't have any ulterior motives. Toru Watanabe walked over and sat down. Has the next department head been decided? Aoi Ichiki asked doubtfully. Isn't Zomi-senpai still thinking about it? This was going to be difficult. Toru Watanabe suddenly realized that he seemed to have said too much just now. If that was the case, it would be impossible not to let Yoshimi Tamamo become the department head. Thinking about it carefully, it wasn't a bad idea to let her become the department head. Looking at her just now, the future would probably develop in a positive direction. At least for now, this was enough. Let's start practicing. Rin Kiyono wasn't interested in these things. For the next day's performance, the 6 people practiced seriously all afternoon. Fortunately, the cultural festival lasted for 3 days. After tomorrow's performance, there was still time to walk around. Toru Watanabe had already decided to go to the Go department and win the title of Dragon King of Kamigawa that he didn't get last year. This had nothing to do with losing 200 points last year. The wind outside seems to be getting stronger. In the evening, Aoi Ichiki leaned against the window and looked at the sky. At dusk yesterday, Tokyo's sky was a rare purplish red, but today was as usual, but the wind was very strong. The school sent a message. Aona Koizumi held her phone in her hand, informing the teachers to organize the students to end the cultural festival and leave school early. Then let's call it a day. Rin Kiyono put down her script and rubbed between her eyebrows tiredly. Her fair and beautiful face was slightly delicate, so beautiful that people couldn't help but think, how can someone be so beautiful? Everyone be careful on the road. Watanabe, Miyasahi, wait for me in the office. I'll send you back. Aona Koizumi finished her words and left the club to inform the other students. The remaining 5 people packed up and left the club. Aoi Ichiki went to find her friends who usually went home with her. Rin Kiyono went to change her club key and went to the office with Miyasahi. Toru Watanabe sent Miki Kujo to the school gate. The first floor was crowded with people. Many students who had received the news in advance and changed their shoes to prepare to leave crowded there. The wind outside was strong. When Toru Watanabe and the others went downstairs, the sky had unknowingly turned gloomy and dark. A few boys rushed out in one breath. Their clothes stuck to their bodies and their neckties flew up. No. Cough, cough, cough. They couldn't even speak in the wind. They retreated again. What do we do? If we don't leave now, we won't be able to leave later. We don't know how long the typhoon will last. It's fine if it ends before 10 o'clock. Don't worry. Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo stood at the back of the crowd. Can a car drive in? Toru Watanabe asked. Miki Kujo took out her phone. Her hand was slender and well-proportioned. But it was a girl's hand after all. It wasn't big, which made the phone even bigger. Just as she was about to make a call, an announcement came from the radio. There was no opening speech. The person on the radio said directly, "Students who have not left the school are forbidden to leave. Please proceed to the gymnasium in an orderly manner." The announcement was repeated 3 times. As soon as the radio disappeared, the physical education teacher and a few other teachers came over and closed the glass door. The howling wind instantly became distant. Go to the gymnasium immediately. Take the passageway on the second floor. Open windows and go out are forbidden, the teachers said loudly. The students changed into indoor shoes in an orderly manner. They weren't afraid. Instead, they talked excitedly and walked towards the gymnasium. Go back or stay? Toru Watanabe asked Miki Kujo. The wind was strong now, but it couldn't do anything to Miki Kujo's modified car. Forget it, Miki Kujo said lazily. The civilians will stay to take shelter. I'll stay to pretend. In front of the public, it's necessary to maintain equality. Besides, it's not a big deal. Staying by my side is the best choice, Toru Watanabe said. Even if we die together? You don't want me to live alone. Miki Kujo turned to ask him. That's not bad. The two of them walked towards the gymnasium. Miki Kujo used her phone to tell the driver to go back. In the hallway, the student council, the disciplinary committee, and the cultural festival executive committee were maintaining order. Before they reached the gymnasium, the strong wind brought down bean-sized raindrops. Separated by the hallway windows, the loud sound of rain and wind made it feel like the school building was being pulled away. The students in the hallway were even more excited. The sound of laughter, the sound of running in the hallway, and the sound of shouting. The rain hit the classroom's glass windows and flowed down like a waterfall. These noises, in the dark and enclosed campus, were like the roar of the sea, rising and falling one after another. Looking into the distance, the oak trees were swaying in the wind and rain. The leaves were like messy grass, uniformly falling in one direction. Most of the promotional banners for the cultural festival had already disappeared. Only a few of them were stuck in the branches, floating around like ghosts. This scene quickly disappeared. The rain was getting heavier. Looking out the window, one could only see rain and fog. The scenery outside was almost indistinguishable, hidden in the rain. Everything in the world seemed to be holding its breath in this storm. There was only the sound of the windows creaking and the wind whistling through the hallway on the first floor, making a sharp sound. This is the first time I've seen such a huge typhoon. I hope there won't be a power outage, Toru Watanabe said. Where's your Taru Bozu? Miki Kujo glanced at him. You want such a huge typhoon to suddenly disappear? The two of them chatted as they walked into the gymnasium. The hallway on the second floor led to the second floor of the gymnasium. There was an indoor table tennis table and other equipment here. Then, they went downstairs and arrived at the crowded basketball court. First grade, Class 1. Over here. Third grade, Class 3, gather here. Everyone, keep quiet. We'll start taking roll call now. Answer when your name is called. The teachers tried their best to maintain order. When the two of them arrived at second grade, Class 4, Aona Koizumi and Rin Kiyono were already there. Mayasahi was also there. Are you okay? Aona Koizumi asked the two of them. I'm fine. How about you, teacher? Toru Watanabe asked. I'm fine too. Hey. Everyone, please keep quiet. The principal appeared on the stage with a microphone. The school received news that due to the typhoon, the main Force Line and Oda-Q line have been suspended. The Chua Line and Yamanote Line's power lines have been cut due to the typhoon, so the trolleys can't be operated either. In addition, the Keio Line and Higashi Line have been suspended as well. There was a flurry of discussion below. That's why, tonight, everyone must stay at the school to take shelter. We've already notified your parents, so you can contact your parents on your own. Only a few students were afraid when they heard this news. Most of them were excited. The school has prepared resources specifically for taking shelter. We'll distribute them later. The student council, the cultural festival executive committee, and the class monitors brought many things over. There was water, biscuits, and beds. Since there were so many people, there were no blankets unless two people slept on the same bed. After distributing the resources, everyone squeezed onto the beds. Aona Koizumi and Huang Zi, Rin Kiyono and my Asahi sat together. Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo sat together. The student council president, who was also the cultural festival executive committee member, appeared on the stage with a microphone. Everyone, since you're staying at the school, then the cultural festival isn't over yet. Next, until 10 p.m., we'll arrange for the choir, chess, flute, stick, kendo, social dance, hip-hop, debate, light music, magic, and falling speech departments to perform on stage for everyone. That's great. This is just like watching a show. There's no sense of taking shelter at all. Why isn't there a film studies department? We want to show our own movies. Also, the student council president didn't finish. If any other clubs or classes want to perform on stage, please use your cell phone to contact the executive committee member of your class. After receiving permission, we'll inform you of the time to perform on stage. I want to sign up. I remember that you're from the Supernatural Phenomenon Research Club, right? What are you going to perform? And you're not even a club. I want to sign up for the debate department. I want to sign up for the zither department. Minister, forget it. There's so many people, I can't even remember how to pluck the zither. The Human Observation Department was also discussing. Should we sign up? Aoi Ichiki asked. There's no entrance fee. You'll lose all your money. Toru Watanabe reminded her. That's right. Aoi Ichiki reacted. No. Rin Kiyono glanced at Toru Watanabe, then said to Aoi Ichiki, it's still uncertain whether the cultural festival will continue tomorrow. In order to not let all our hard work go to waste, it's best to perform now. Aoi Ichiki thought for a moment, then nodded with difficulty. All right, I've already eaten a lot anyway. Watanabe-san, contact Sanaya Mizami, Rin Kiyono said. Why do I have her contact information? I'll do it. Aoi Ichiki took out her phone, then buried her head in a message. After a while, she looked up. Okay, I almost didn't make it. The line is almost full. We're the last one. After waiting for a while, the announcement came in the midst of the storm. Choir performance, 3-string flower. The curtains on the stage slowly opened, and the choir lined up neatly. As soon as the song started, many people followed along to the beat. When the song got to the past clearly appears in front of my eyes, those were the days I lived with you, everyone couldn't help but sing along. The awakened longing continues. The strength of 1,000 people overshadowed even the storm. Thank you to the choir. Next is the shogi department. Everyone can go on stage to challenge. The challenge fee is 200 yen, and the winner can take all the money. Oh right, 3 seconds for a move. Why can the shogi department accept money? Aoi Ichiki said unhappily. Want to try? How is the shogi department going to perform? No one can see. While everyone was puzzled, the lights in the gymnasium dimmed, and a projection appeared on the stage. The head of the shogi department was kneeling behind a chessboard, waiting for someone to challenge her. She looked quite gentle, but there was a wooden sign next to her that read, Battle for the Dragon King. Kamigawa's strongest. Invincible. Supreme. Looks interesting. Is anyone going up? This is a good chance to show off in front of the whole school. How many girls know shogi? Do you think it's baseball? It's fine as long as you win, don't worry about the rules. Win. The head of the shogi department is said to be a professional Go player. She's called the Ponytail One-Handed Girl. What's that nickname? That's the nickname she got when she won the celebrity tournament for elementary school students. At that time, she had a really long ponytail, but she cut it later. On the other side, Toru Watanabe clenched his fists. You want to go up? Miki Kujo asked. The title of Kamigawa's strongest has to belong to me. Rin Kiyono, who was sitting next to Toru Watanabe, moved her legs slightly to make room for him. Wait, the money isn't enough yet. The momentum isn't ready yet. I want to take revenge for last year with a thunderous momentum. Rin Kiyono rolled her eyes at him. Chapter 339. In the end, Toru Watanabe did not go up. When Miki Kujo asked him the reason, he said that he did not want to be number one in everything. You just don't think the money is enough. Rin Kiyono exposed him. Miki Kujo, don't believe her. It's fine if you don't go up. As Kujo's son-in-law, there is no need to argue with these people. Miki Kujo had a sense of superiority. We don't know whose son-in-law he is yet. Rin Kiyono reminded her. There are too many people here. Sure. Toru Watanabe quickly stopped the signs of a fight. While the two cute girls from the Loyu section were performing their crosstalk in a very awkward manner, the 6 members of World's End and the Grim Wonderland arrived at the second floor of the gymnasium. Please hurry up and change your clothes. There are still 20 minutes before you go up on stage. Rin Kiyono sternly instructed. Rin Kiyono was only speaking to Toru Watanabe and the others. However, everyone backstage was listening quietly. The girls entered the changing room. Toru Watanabe and Aoi Ichiki temporarily waited outside. Kuin Watanabe, it's about to start. Where are you going? Aoi Ichiki looked at Toru Watanabe, who was walking away. I'll be right back. Toru Watanabe looked for Kaoru Hayami, who was still backstage. The blowing section needed to provide music for many clubs. Good morning, senpai. Toru Watanabe found her among a group of girls who were peeking at the Loyu section's performance. Ah, Kuin Watanabe. Kaoru Hayami was shocked. What's the matter? Toru Watanabe looked at the girls who were peeking at him and said, Let's go somewhere else. Oh, okay. Kaoru Hayami was a little confused. The two of them arrived at the staircase between the first and second floors. I'm very sorry, Toru Watanabe said. It's about Yoshimi Tamamo. Beautiful. What happened? Today, she came to find me to explain why I recommended her, but as we talked, she asked me what I should do as a department head, and I said, remember the names of everyone in the wind department. And then? Kaoru Hayami asked softly. He couldn't tell if her personality was gentle or not because her voice was very gentle. When I said that, didn't I mean that the next minister would definitely be you? Kaoru Hayami tapped his cheek with his finger and pondered. Indeed, most people would understand it that way. So. Kaoru Hayami tilted his head and looked at him. So? Kaoru Hayami tilted his head in another direction. Toru Watanabe didn't know that Kaoru Hayami had such a playful side to him. She liked him. It was very convenient to use someone who liked you. You could get them to help you with just a few words. Toru Watanabe originally planned to beg him, but now he changed his mind and chose a way that would keep them apart. If you can make Yoshimi Tamamo the department head, I will continue to guide the wind department in the coming year. As for Kiyono, I will do my best to get her to help. Turning a request into a deal. Kaoru Hayami had no idea that Toru Watanabe was thinking so much in that short moment. Okay. Thank you. You're welcome. We were the only 2 members of the wind department, Kaoru Hayami said with a smile. Is that so? I forgot. Ugh, I need to reconsider the department head position. Tetsumasa Watanabe was about to say something when there was a sudden clap of thunder, and the lights in the stadium flickered a few times. Ah! Kaoru Hayami was shocked. Let's go back. Okay. The two returned to the second floor. Aoi Ichiki was gone, and Aona Koizumi waved for Toru Watanabe to come in. Everyone had already changed their clothes. Hurry up, Rin Kiyono said to him. Toru Watanabe took his clothes into a small cubicle and changed into the polite demon suit. Miki Kujo glanced at him, walked in front of him, and helped him fix his collar. Because he was a demon, his collar was slightly wastrel. You think you're casual, but you're casual like this? Miki Kujo mocked Toru Watanabe's taste as she fixed his shirt. It's almost done. Miki Kujo raised her hand and slapped Toru Watanabe's hand away. Toru Watanabe obediently stayed there and let her fix his collar. Human Observation Department, it's almost your turn. A girl from the executive committee poked her head in and said, "It's about to start." Aoi Ichiki's face was pale, and her voice was trembling. The sound of her heartbeat was getting louder and louder. Although she had experience in the wind department, that was with 55 people, so there was a limit to how nervous she could be. But in a play, there were at most 3 people on stage at the same time, and there was even time for her monologue. The more she thought about it, the more blank her mind became. What was the first line again? What was the expression? What was the psychology of the characters? Aona Koizumi forced a smile. She was also very nervous. Rin Kiyono looked at the two of them and said, "No matter how many people there are in the audience, you just have to think about your own limits. After so many days of hard work, no matter what, you have to leave an impression on the audience after this play ends." Yes. All right. Toru Watanabe's heart was also pounding. Now that things had come to this, how could a man run away? Now, he had no choice but to cut off all means of retreat. No matter what the outcome would be, he had to work hard to have the hope of getting the life he wanted. Toru Watanabe took a deep breath, and his heartbeat gradually stabilized. After the stage was set up, Miki Kujo was ready. Next up is a play from the Human Observation Department, World's End and the Grim Wonderland. Please enjoy. A storm raged, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. The curtain leading to the end of the world slowly opened. This was the story of a young girl who searched for the immortal realm but was abandoned by it. The young girl packed her luggage while humming a song. She was in a very good mood. The spotlight shone on her. Unlike her usual elegance, she looked adorable and likable. The audience couldn't help but exclaim, "Miki Kujo was just that beautiful." Most of the time, even a simple frown or smile was mesmerizing. Unfortunately, although she wasn't a cold and expressionless person, her sincere smile was almost only for Toru Watanabe. "Good morning, young girl." Toru Watanabe walked onto the stage. The audience instantly cheered. Toru Watanabe wasn't just popular with the girls. Although he didn't sit with the baseball team, he had a good relationship with the boys. "Good morning, Mr. Devil," the young girl greeted him briskly. "Luggage." The devil glanced at the cloth bag on the table. "Are you going somewhere far?" "I'm going to find the end of the world and break up with you." The audience burst into laughter. This wasn't a line from the script. Rin Kiyono crossed her arms behind the scenes, and her beautiful eyebrows furrowed beautifully. Toru Watanabe didn't hesitate or be surprised. "No one in this world can resist my charm. No matter where your body goes, I will always be in your heart." The boys hissed while the girls nodded. "Mr. Devil." Miki Kujo stepped forward and buttoned up Toru Watanabe's collar. "The place I want to go is the end of the world." "The end of the world?" "That is indeed a place that I cannot reach. However, can you find it?" "Even I, a devil, do not know where it is." "I have a map." The young girl smugly pulled out a folded parchment from her lapel. "Goodbye, Mr. Devil." The devil looked at the map and silently watched the young girl leave. Then, he took off the hat on his head and placed it in front of his chest. "I will always be with you." The devil then left the stage. The curtains slowly closed and the support staff hurriedly began setting up new props. A voiceover that Toru Watanabe had recorded in advance came from the broadcast. The young girl left the town where she grew up and followed the first instruction on the map. Drink the fountain of forgetting your wish. If she can recall everything about herself, she will be able to meet the witch. The witch holds the secret to the end of the world. After experiencing a complete 4 seasons, the young girl remembered her wish to go to the end of the world. It was at that moment that the witch appeared before her. Toru Watanabe's voice was unhurried and pleasant to listen to. Images naturally appeared in the minds of the audience, as if they were witnessing the young girl's experiences during this time. The curtains opened. The scene was no longer a house. Instead, it was a forest filled with the sounds of birds. Within the forest, the spring sun was shining brightly. Rabbits were grooming wolves while birds were cleaning snakes' teeth. The witch was sitting on a tree root, reading a thick book in her hands. Wow, it's Koizumi-sensei. This witch outfit is so suitable. It's just that it's not that sinister. For someone familiar to suddenly play a role in a play, the contrast between the two was quite amusing. There was also Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo. The two of them were usually together, and they acted as if they were dating on stage. It was also quite amusing for the audience. At that moment, the young girl who had just left the stage reappeared on stage. "Hello, are you a witch?" "Yes." The witch's gaze left the book and looked at the young girl. After a short conversation, the witch disappeared, leaving the young girl alone in the forest. Empathize with the devil. Empathize with each other? The young girl looked at everything in the forest with a confused expression. She then left the forest and continued walking in the direction her heart was guiding her. The scene changed to a shrine, where the witch was cleaning the ginseng path. What a beautiful witch. What year is she? I don't know, I've never seen her before. It's my Asahi, sensei. It's perfect for a witch outfit. It's so beautiful. The young girl walked up the stage and asked the witch about the world's end. I can tell you. Ha! The young girl was so surprised that she couldn't say anything. The witch was too straightforward. Do you have any conditions? She hurriedly asked. The witch shook her head expressionlessly. But... The young girl hesitated. I drank the forgotten wish spring water and recalled everything. After passing the test, the witch told me the secret she knew. Do I really not need to do anything for you? The witch shook her head again. Why? The young girl didn't understand. Because she already obtained everything she wanted. The demon appeared again. When the demon reached the young girl, Miki Kujo reached out her hand to fix his collar, which had changed back to a casual one, and tidied it up again. The audience below laughed. Every time they met, the young girl would fix the demon's collar. Did she go to the world's end so that she wouldn't have to see the demon's collar again? Everyone was in high spirits as they discussed animatedly. For a moment, they neglected the apocalyptic gale outside the house. Young girl, I like to be comfortable. Toru Watanabe reached out to stop her. Slap. Kujio Miyoshi slapped his hand away and continued to tidy up his collar. Ah ha ha ha. The audience below laughed. While fixing the demon's collar, the young girl asked, You obtained everything you wanted? Just like the witch, this witch here had once made a deal with me. After fixing the demon's collar, the young girl turned to ask the witch, May I ask, what did you gain from the demon, and what did you lose? Feelings. Divinity. Feelings? Divinity. Every emotion except love. My divinity. The young girl still didn't understand what the witch was talking about, so she turned to look at the demon standing next to her and spoke with a gentle yet commanding tone, Explain it to me. The audience below laughed again. Actually, the young girl and the demon were husband and wife. The young girl ran away from home out of anger, and the demon came to persuade her to return? Is this how Kujo classmate and Kuin Watanabe normally get along? I'm so jealous. Watch your tone, young girl. The demon reminded her, then explained, she is a witch, deeply in love with a divinity, but she has never seen one before. And then she made a deal with me, using every emotion except love to exchange for the method to communicate with a divinity from me. Exchanging the method to communicate with a divinity from a demon? The young girl was shocked and muttered to herself. She couldn't believe that such a ridiculous thing could happen in this world. Why did you do that? The young girl asked the witch. If you truly love a divinity, you absolutely cannot make a deal with a demon. The witch tilted her head with a blank expression. As someone who had lost all her emotions, she could only use such an action to express her confusion. Why? A divinity will never fall in love with someone who has made a deal with a demon. Why? Because demons are bad, divinities are good, and they are enemies. Hey, I'm still here. Despite saying that, the demon didn't seem to care about the young girl's evaluation at all. I don't need a divinity to love me. The witch's expression was calm. I don't care what a divinity thinks, I don't care what a divinity thinks, I don't care what a divinity thinks, I only want to talk to a divinity from time to time, even if it's an angry reprimand. The young girl stared blankly at the witch in front of her. The audience was also shocked by such a plot. You lost all your emotions. You lost the favor of a divinity. Don't you regret it? The young girl couldn't help but ask. The witch tilted her head again and looked at the young girl with a confused expression. She couldn't even remember what regret was anymore. The young girl was speechless for a long time. After receiving a hint from the witch, she silently left the shrine. Making a deal with a demon, not caring what a divinity thinks, only wanting to be together with a divinity. Is this a goddess of love, or not? The young girl carried her doubts as she once again embarked on her journey to find the end of the world. On her third trip, the young girl met a female knight. This seemingly valiant knight had also made a deal with a demon before. In order to protect a kingdom that was about to be destroyed, I obtained power from a demon. But, the kingdom worships fairies. Is it really okay to use a demon's power to protect it? The young girl asked. I didn't think so much at the time. This young female knight scratched her head in embarrassment. After resolving the kingdom's predicament, I intended to leave this place, but everyone forgave me. It was because of everyone's trust that I was able to resist the temptation to continue making deals with demons. Right, the female knight said, I don't know how to reach the end of the world, but you can ask a fairy. A fairy? Yes. The female knight nodded. But to meet a fairy, you must fulfill certain conditions. Only those who fulfill these conditions can go to the fairyland. What are the specific conditions? What are they? I'm not sure. It has been a long time since anyone in the kingdom was able to go to the fairyland. I can take you there to try. Thank you. The young girl followed the female knight into the depths of the kingdom. Such a sacred and secret place, yet the kingdom is still open to those who have made deals with demons. The young girl muttered to herself. A kingdom that worships a fairy and survives by relying on a demon's power. The people trust and accept her. As the young girl spoke, the two of them left the stage. The curtains slowly lifted. Witch, knight, the young girl has reached the end of the map. Toru Watanabe spoke in a low and gentle voice. Will she be able to meet a fairy? Where is the end of the world? After the narration ended, the curtains slowly lifted. Everyone waited with bated breath, wanting to see what would happen next. A beautiful, pure, and perfect fairy appeared on the stage. She was so beautiful that even the wind would hold its breath. Chapter 340. Everyone held their breaths, silently admiring the figure on the stage. The fairy was strolling in her own garden, her clothes fluttering in the wind. The stage seemed to have truly become a fairyland. Who broke into my garden? She suddenly spoke to the back of the curtain. Her cold and transparent voice was still exceptionally beautiful and moving amidst the howling of the wind. The lights on the stage dimmed, leaving only two spotlights. One shone on the fairy's body, her white dress, transparent skin, and even her hair shone with light. The other shone on the empty floor in front of the curtain. All the teachers and students of Kanagawa High School were watching intently. In their line of sight, the girl slowly poked her head out, curiously looking around the spotlights, then carefully walked out of the curtain and stepped into the spotlights. She had changed into a white dress. The style were different from the fairy's, showing her mortal side, so lively, like a deer with clear eyes that jumped out from the forest. The girl walked towards the fairy, and the spotlights followed her. During this process, there were no lines, but everyone was completely focused, as if they had really traveled through time and space to witness the scene with their own eyes. The girl stood in front of the fairy, the two spotlights were close to each other. Are you a fairy? The girl asked curiously. The fairy nodded. I came from the kingdom, wanting to find the end of the world. I don't know why, but I changed into a dress. it's so beautiful. I've been to so many places and met so many different people, but I've never seen such beautiful clothes," the girl excitedly said a lot, then suddenly asked the fairy as if she remembered something, "Right, you're a fairy, do you know where the end of the world is?" "The end of the world? The end of the world? I don't know what the end of the world is, even you, a fairy, don't know? Then what should I do? Is the map incomplete?" The girl was very dejected. "Why do you want to go to the end of the world?" the fairy asked. "Because it's a place where demons cannot reach." The girl's voice was filled with yearning. "Demons cannot reach this place either, really? Could it be, the fairyland is the end of the world?" The girl was pleasantly surprised. Then, she asked the fairy expectantly, "Can I stay?" "Since you're here, you've already been recognized by the fairyland." The fairy extended her hand. "Come." The girl looked at the fairy's hand and slowly placed her hand on it. At the same time, the two spotlights merged into one and turned into a large circle. Then, they slowly spread out until the dim stage was lit up again. In an instant, flowers bloomed, birds chirped, and pleasant music came from afar. The fairy took the girl on a tour of the fairyland. The girl was amazed by the scenery that she was accustomed to. "I'm so happy." On a hillside full of greenery, the young girl couldn't help but dance, and her cheerful laughter filled the fairyland. Infected by her smile, the fairy laughed as well. On the stage, the sky was bright and beautiful. The audience felt as if they were immersed in the scene, going to the fairyland where birds were chirping and flowers were fragrant, forgetting about the strong wind and heavy rain. After spending some happy time with the fairy, the girl remembered her promise with the witch and said goodbye to the fairy. "You must remember," before leaving, the fairy reminded him, "you must not be discovered. Once discovered, the devil will notice you and follow you to the immortal realm." Don't worry, I'll remember it. And, come back soon." The girl was stunned, then smiled brightly. When the girl slowly left the fairy, the lights on the stage dimmed, and became the only two spotlights again. When the girl completely disappeared, the fairy was left alone in the fairyland. She looked into the distance under the spotlights. In the dim fairyland, there were birds chirping and pleasant music. The fairy was still beautiful, but she gave off a sense of desolation. She was like a white wandering soul, floating alone in the boundless wilderness. Compared to the happiness just now, the audience couldn't help but feel sorrowful just by looking at this scene. Some of the more sentimental girls were already secretly wiping their tears, silently praying for a good ending. The curtain closed. After going through so much, the girl finally found a place where the devil couldn't reach, but left because of her promise. Will she be able to return to the fairyland again? The curtain opened. The witch was sitting on a tree root, reading a book. Soon, the girl appeared. After leaving the fairyland, her clothes changed back to how they were before. Her hair was scattered, and her clothes were covered in grass. She looked travel-worn. In order to keep her promise with the fairy, the girl went through a lot of hardships and finally arrived at the witch's forest. "As long as I write down the directions to the fairyland and put it in the place where the witch usually reads, I'll be able to return to be with the fairy again." She sat behind a tree, waiting for the witch to leave while looking forward to her reunion with the fairy. What the girl didn't expect was that the witch was different from the normal people she avoided. She had magic that normal people couldn't even imagine or resist. "Who's there?" The witch closed the book. Following her voice, the tree that the girl was hiding behind slowly moved away. "Ah!" The girl hurriedly covered her face. The lights on the stage suddenly dimmed. In the two spotlights, the witch and the girl were standing. Outside the spotlights, a blurry figure stood there, silently watching the two of them. "Ah!" the audience screamed. "Run, the devil is here," someone was watching intently and hurriedly reminded them. The girl panicked. The witch comforted her. When the girl calmed down, she told the witch everything about the fairyland. "Can I return to the fairyland?" The girl put her hands in front of her chest, asking in a confused and weak voice. After going through so much, being able to tease the devil, being brave and strong, this was the first time the girl showed such an expression. The witch shook her head. How could I? I'm sorry, the witch appeared apologetic. The girl hid her disappointment and smiled. It's fine, you don't know that I can't be discovered. Hearing that, some of the audience suddenly remembered the previous plot, a witch that even the devil can understand. You might be able to return, the witch looked at the girl's glowing eyes and continued, but the devil has already discovered you. If you return, you'll bring him into the fairyland. The girl's eyes dimmed again. The witch left the stage, leaving the girl alone on the stage, as well as the devil who stood at the edge of the spotlights, watching her. The fairy, the girl muttered. It's my fault, I didn't keep my promise, farewell. No. I didn't do anything wrong. The girl fell into anger and confusion. I want to go back. In the end, she made up her mind. Even if the devil enters the fairyland, even if the fairy hates me, I want to see the fairy and be with her forever. The sound of the wind became louder and louder. The audience watched as the girl ran and disappeared behind the curtain, as if they were watching a witch who didn't care about the feelings of the gods and made a deal with the devil. I understand. A male student couldn't help but say, in the end, the girl will be forgiven just like the female knight. That's great, a female student sighed in relief. However, the fairy didn't forgive the girl like the kingdom forgave the knight, even though the girl tried her best, even though it wasn't an accident that the girl could have avoided. No, you can't. The fairy coldly stared at the girl. Why? The girl begged. Look at yourself. The girl looked down. The white dress she wore the first time she came to the fairyland was now black. The girl lost all her strength and fell on the stage, covering her face and crying. The fairy's gaze was cold. Her beautiful face was expressionless, sending chills down everyone's spine. Why can't she be forgiven? A female student hurriedly asked. She broke the rules. There's nothing we can do about it, someone said. But didn't the female knight who made a deal with the devil also get everyone's forgiveness and live happily with everyone? Humans are humans, fairies are fairies. Fairies hate the devil more, and they don't sympathize with him like humans do. While everyone was discussing the plot, the devil finally walked out of the shadows and stood beside the crying girl. You won, the fairy said to the devil without any emotion. According to the following script, the devil politely and somewhat proudly said, Not at all, I spent a lot of time. The fairy said, Time? Do you think the devil cares about that? Stop your ridicule, I will take the fairyland and leave, and let this world come to an end. Not yet, the devil no, Toru Watanabe said. I've been waiting for you, the fairy no, Rin Kiyono said. From the moment she received the script, Rin Kiyono quietly watched Toru Watanabe. She wasn't surprised. Her voice was calm and cold. He wanted to use the play to convey his feelings. She would also tell him her determination. The gymnasium suddenly quieted down. The sound of music and people's discussions all disappeared. The sound of thunder and rain outside hit their eardrums even harder. The kingdom can forgive the knight. Why can't you forgive her? Toru Watanabe's slightly darker eyes looked straight at Rin Kiyono. Some people can forgive betrayal, some people can't. It's just that the choices are different. She kept her promise with you, and broke it because of something that normal people can't do. Even so, you still want to expel her from the fairyland? Rin Kiyono fell silent, slightly lowering her eyes. Miki Kujo, Kujo's family, the scene when she was 4 years old, rolled over in her mind. Like a gear, once one's life turned in the wrong direction, it would stay wrong forever. After fighting alone for a long time, one would either break down, or have unimaginable determination and willpower. Rin Kiyono looked up, her gaze falling on Toru Watanabe's face. That's right, she said. The thunder was dull, but the audience turned a deaf ear, forgetting that it was a typhoon, and looked nervously at the stage. What's going on? Aoi Ichiki was confused and worried. Don't worry, leave it to Watanabe. Aona Koizumi looked at Toru Watanabe on the stage. Compared to herself, she trusted him more. Toru Watanabe stared at Rin Kiyono. Since she was 4 years old, she had persevered alone for 13 years. She stood alone in the boundless wilderness. Her beautiful figure fascinated Toru Watanabe, and he admired her from the bottom of his heart. But compared to this, no matter what she thought, no matter what path she planned to take in the future, Toru Watanabe wanted to see her laughing in the crowd. This was his arrogance, his personal opinion. Only by caring for and understanding each other can one's life be happy. This was what he had learned from Miki Kujo and Aona Koizumi, and now he was telling Rin Kiyono. Everyone has their own happiness, and if you live according to your own will, you can also be happy. Of course, there's nothing wrong with sticking to your principles, and I won't say that it's wrong, but I want you to give up. I want you to leave Wonderland. You betrayed me? Rin Kiyono's voice was really cold. The typhoon seemed to have just discovered the stadium, and it suddenly swept over. The clouds followed closely behind, throwing lightning to the ground, and the sky was as bright as day. Then, with a loud bang, it suddenly exploded. The world was trembling. No. Toru Watanabe closed his eyes. You want me to give up? You're telling the truth. Rin Kiyono said slowly, emphasizing each word. No. Rin Kiyono laughed coldly, and his sharp eyes stared directly at Toru Watanabe, whose eyes were closed. You love Kiyono too much, and you can't see her objectively. You think of everything from her perspective. You and Rin Kiyono have a very good relationship, and that's why you can't think calmly. Kujo has her family on her shoulders, and she can't see through lies, but you tell her not to lie, even though she clearly doesn't lie to you anymore. Miki has sacrificed, but what about you, Kiyono? If you want to be friends with each other, where's the basic mutual care? Will you only let others cater to you? Love isn't one-sided, it's mutual. Plans after plans, principles after principles, and a basket of words that he had thought of long ago, supported Toru Watanabe to come here and stand on the stage. But, only by being cold and heartless could he get rid of his personal feelings, think of a way, and fulfill his wish. He still couldn't do it. He opened his eyes and looked at Rin Kiyono. Her beautiful face was filled with the anger of being betrayed, and her expression was as cold as ice. If this wasn't a stage for a play, she would have already turned around and left. Even though her eyes were as cold as a sharp blade, and no one dared to look directly at her, even though she was stubborn and cold, Toru Watanabe still loved her to the point of no return. All the flowers bloom for you, you're so different. No matter how many choices he had in life, Toru Watanabe could only choose to love Rin Kiyono. Enough is enough, he said coldly. At this moment, the typhoon fled in panic, and the clouds didn't dare to make even the slightest sound. Everyone held their breaths, and Rin Kiyono looked at him in disbelief. The outside world is wonderful, Toru Watanabe said. There are witches who can understand demons, and there are witches who don't care about the gods' feelings and trade with demons because they love the gods. There are all kinds of people and all kinds of things. Don't you want to see them? Why do you want to stay in this cold fairyland where there are only flowers? I can't. Is it wrong? No. It's wrong. Reason. There's no reason. Pester endlessly? Rin Kiyono mocked. Toru Watanabe thought of my Asahi, who didn't care about anything, including his wishes, as long as she was with him. You're the only one who can make me pester endlessly and worry so much, Toru Watanabe said. Rin Kiyono fell silent, and turned her face away to avoid his gaze. I won't force you to make any choice, but I want you to answer me now. Do you regret it? Have you ever thought of reconciling with her? In the script, fairies couldn't lie. In reality, Rin Kiyono couldn't lie. The fierce wind stopped at some point, and the silence was like a drizzle falling on the eaves, playing out in the gymnasium. After a long time, Rin Kiyono spoke in a calm voice. Yes. The fairies admit their mistakes, and the world comes to an end. Toru Watanabe clapped frivolously, as if the confrontation just now didn't exist. Only then did the audience come back to their senses, and they all exclaimed, "What a cunning demon!" He pretended to be a good person and took the initiative to persuade the fairies to forgive the young girls. I was wondering why, so that's what it was all about. The demon didn't prepare the map from the beginning, did he? Maybe the witches, the shamans, the female knights, and the young girls were all used by the demon. They were the demon's pawns, and the demon's goal was the fairies from the beginning. So that's what the end of the world means. The audience couldn't wait to discuss their understanding of the plot, and when they saw the curtain slowly fall, they came back to their senses and applauded loudly. Watching the curtain gradually close, Toru Watanabe breathed a sigh of relief. This is completely different from the plan. Miki Kujo said beside him. That's enough. At this time, Rin Kiyono suddenly walked to his side and whispered, I have something to say to you later. Toru Watanabe looked at her sharp eyes and wailed in his heart. Miki. There would be a day when he would ask Miki Kujo for help. Go, my dear. Miki Kujo said with a smile. When they returned backstage, the audience applauded. That was amazing. Their acting skills are amazing. I thought they were really quarreling. Yeah, I was shocked. We are the male and female lead of the Oscars. This is nothing. Toru Watanabe replied. After changing out of their clothes, Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono went to the corridor on the second floor of the gymnasium that led to the school dormitory. The typhoon had already stopped, and it was drizzling. Before Rin Kiyono could speak, Toru Watanabe said childishly, I'm sorry for being mean to you, but that's because I like you. I already guessed what you were going to do on stage when I got the script. Then you were already prepared to reconcile with Miki? Don't change the subject. Rin Kiyono glanced at him. You're not either. Toru Watanabe thought, but he was getting more and more worried. In this whole thing, there was one thing that he couldn't explain, and Rin Kiyono obviously noticed it. At Karuizawa. Sure enough. You deliberately talked about the scene when we first met, and let me sing along with you, just to make me agree to perform a play for the cultural festival? And then put on this play? No. I was really just saying it casually. Using my nostalgia for the past. If I take a seat in the ground, will you forgive me? Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe coldly. Open the window. Yes. As soon as the window was opened, the fresh and comfortable air rushed in. Summer was completely over, and Tokyo had completely entered autumn. Rin Kiyono took a deep breath in the cool night air. Kiyono-san, Ryu-san? What can I do with you? Rin Kiyono turned her head and smiled helplessly. You like me so much, and I like you so much. Toru Watanabe couldn't say anything. Was his current mood the same as when Rin Kiyono heard him say on stage, You're the only one who can make me pester you endlessly, worry and work so hard. Although the typhoon had stopped, the trams hadn't been restored, and the school was still worried about letting the students go back so late, so they still had to stay the night. When it was time to sleep, Miki Kujo slept between Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono. Even if it was a girl next door, she didn't want to sleep next to her. Rin Kiyono lay in the dark, thinking about everything that happened on stage today. Back then, perhaps she was really too heartless to Miki Kujo. She closed her eyes and asked the deepest thoughts in her heart. Do I hate Miki Kujo? Yes. Do I hate being together with Miki Kujo? No, I'm used to it. What if I continue to be friends with her? It's not impossible. When I was 4 years old, who was wrong? Miki Kujo was the first to break the promise, but since she was only 4 years old at the time, she wasn't lying at all, so she was more at fault. Rin Kiyono exhaled. In the dark, she reached out to her right and touched Miki Kujo's slender, long fingers. The next moment, Miki Kujo took her fingers away and changed from a lying position to a sleeping position with her back facing her and Toru Watanabe. Rin Kiyono's hand was left between the two of them. She silently looked at the ceiling of the gymnasium that seemed to be the sky. Once the gears turned wrong, they would never be able to go back. Rin Kiyono closed her eyes and let the world sink into complete darkness. Just then, her hand was touched. A slender, long finger gently touched her hand. Warmth flowed from the bottom of her heart. Rin Kiyono, who had never changed her sleeping position, suddenly had the urge to turn over on her bed. She didn't know when, but one of the hands that touched each other moved forward, and at the same time, the other hand moved forward as well. In the dark, it was impossible to tell who changed their positions first. All she knew was that the hands that had only touched each other lightly were now holding each other. Chapter 341. The next morning, the sun shone as brightly as it did in midsummer. It was another sunny day. However, the endless sky and the transparent rays of light made people feel that autumn was coming. The cultural festival ended and the school had 2 days off. After leaving school, please go home immediately. You are not allowed to stay outside. The teachers maintained order and loudly instructed. Let's go eat breakfast together later? Sure, what should we eat? Many students didn't take the teacher's words to heart and planned to go play. The school was a mess. Many trees fell and garbage was everywhere. Aona Koizumi and Huang Zi were left behind. Miki Kujo sent Rin Kiyono and Mayasahi home. No one spoke along the way. There was an atmosphere of people who often chatted online but met for the first time in real life. The car arrived at Rin Kiyono's apartment first. Let's go shopping together tomorrow? Miki Kujo suddenly spoke. Rin Kiyono, who was about to get out of the car, hesitated for 2 or 3 seconds before nodding and saying, "Okay." After she got out of the car, the door closed, and the car drove a distance away. Toru Watanabe laughed. "What are you laughing at?" "Shut up," Miki Kujo coldly ordered. "Ha ha ha." Toru Watanabe laughed even harder and clapped. Miki Kujo's originally fierce expression suddenly laughed and reached out to pinch his waist. Mayasahi tilted her head and looked at the two of them in confusion. When they arrived at Shino-cho, Toru Watanabe didn't get out of the car. Instead, he and Miki Kujo went back to Kamibocho's villa. "Tell me, what happened last night? How did you suddenly make up and go shopping together?" Toru Watanabe chased Miki Kujo up to the second floor. "Nothing." Miki Kujo turned into the bedroom and began to unbutton her shirt to take a shower. "Impossible, how did you make up? Tell me. Ask her if you want to know." Miki Kujo threw away her shirt and took off her camisole. Her curvaceous upper body was only left with a black bra. Toru Watanabe didn't pursue the matter. He knew exactly what had happened. He lay on the soft and comfortable bed and sighed in satisfaction. His energetic body suddenly didn't want to move. He wanted to just lie there like this forever. Miki Kujo untied the sides of her pleated skirt and let it slide to the ground. Then, she threw the pantyhose that she had just taken off at Toru Watanabe. "Don't dirty my bed. Don't throw it around. This is my bed." Toru Watanabe threw the pantyhose to the side. He was no longer the same person as last year. He could take off Miki Kujo's pantyhose and throw it away whenever he wanted. While Miki Kujo was taking a shower, he was lying on the bed with nothing on his mind. When Miki Kujo came out in her pajamas and asked him to take a shower, he finally came back to his senses. "I'll be right there." Toru Watanabe jumped up from the bed. "It's okay if you take a little longer." Miki Kujo sat in front of the mirror and used a hairdryer to dry her hair. When she turned off the hairdryer, Tetsumasa Watanabe came out of the bathroom. "Sit here." Miki Kujo stood up. "I'll dry your hair for you." Toru Watanabe sat there. Miki Kujo rubbed his hair as if she was facing a pile of weeds. Toru Watanabe's head moved along with her hand, shaking his head. Miki Kujo laughed cheerfully and then began to dry his hair seriously. The hairdryer blew warm air. Miki Kujo's fingers gently tidied his hair. Toru Watanabe looked at the two people in the mirror. His heart fell into the softest bed in the world. "It's done." The sound of the hairdryer disappeared. Toru Watanabe came back to his senses. In the mirror, his hair was soft, but there was a tuft of hair sticking up. "Does it look good?" Miki Kujo asked with a smile. "It's good, it's good," Toru Watanabe said perfunctorily. He took the hairdryer from her hand and put it aside. "What are you doing? I'm not a casual person. This kind of thing has to wait until after marriage." Unfortunately, I'm a casual person. Toru Watanabe picked up Miki Kujo in a princess carry. I'm going to call the police and have someone come to arrest you. As she said that, Miki Kujo hooked her hands around Toru Watanabe's neck and looked into his eyes with a smile. The two came to the bed. Toru Watanabe gently put her down. He sat on the edge of the bed with his left hand beside Miki Kujo and his right hand stroking her delicate and beautiful face. The best, the cutest Miki, he said in his most gentle voice. Miki Kujo put her hand on his right hand that was stroking her face. Her eyes were gentle. Since you're so good and so cute, what are you waiting for? She looked into Toru Watanabe's eyes and said softly. Toru Watanabe leaned down and kissed her lips. The two of them hugged each other tightly. Their desire for each other could only be temporarily satisfied by completely sucking each other into their bodies. The next day, Miki Kujo put on a beautiful dress and went shopping with Rin Kiyono. Toru Watanabe went to Kiyono's palace-style villa by Tokyo Bay. Young Master Watanabe. The servant bowed to him. Is Aunt Kiyono here? He asked. Madam is in the garden. Thank you. The servant bowed and retreated to the side to continue cleaning the fountain that was messed up by the typhoon. Toru Watanabe walked into the living room alone. He was still in the living room. Through the wall-sized French window, he could see Mrs. Kiyono and Mrs. Kujo tidying the plants in the 3-acre garden. This is a tall type of melon chrysanthemum. It can be used for flower arrangement. This short type is used for appreciation. What about the flowering period? Sowing in summer and autumn, blooming in winter and spring. The flowering period is December to May of the following year. Planting it now. Kun Watanabe? Mrs. Kujo turned around. Toru Watanabe stood on the sunlit porch and looked at the two of them. Ah, who is this? Mrs. Kiyono mocked. From her appearance, he could roughly imagine Rin Kiyono's appearance in 20 years. If she cut her hair short at that time. Watanabe, Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe replied with a smile. Have we met before? Mrs. Kiyono was puzzled. I'm sorry. I'll visit you often in the future. Toru Watanabe left the porch and walked into the lady's garden. Why are you visiting her? Your mother-in-law is here. After Kujo Masakazu finished speaking, she suddenly thought of something and said, Well, you haven't been to my place for so many days, but you came here. Are you planning to seek refuge with Kiyono's family? I'm here for you, Toru Watanabe said. Kujo Masakazu couldn't stand it anymore and turned to Kiyono Yuko and said, You can't believe a word he says. Agreed. Kiyono Yuko waved to Toru Watanabe. Come here. She pointed to a bag of fine soil by the fence and said, Take it. We'll scatter the seeds later, and you can pour it evenly. Toru Watanabe took the bag of soil and followed behind the two ladies. The sky was blue, the clouds were thin, and the bay was still. The garden was bare, the flowers destroyed by the typhoon, and the fragrance of the soil was everywhere. The two ladies talked about how to rearrange the garden, occasionally asking Toru Watanabe for his opinion. After working for more than half an hour, they handed the tools to the servants and took off the gloves they had put on for planting the flowers. The three of them returned to the living room with a 10-meter-high roof. The window was half open, and the sunlight cast the shadow of the window lattice on the ground. Tell me, why did you come to see me? Where's Miki and Ling? They didn't come with you? Mrs. Kiyono sat on the sofa. Mrs. Kujo Masakazu sat next to her. The breeze blew their hair, and they looked charming. The scene in front of him seemed familiar, and he felt that he must have seen it in a movie. They went shopping. Toru Watanabe looked at the two of them and said. The two ladies also looked at him. For a moment, there was only the whispers of the wind and curtains in the living room. Made up? Mrs. Kujo Masakazu asked. Made up. Toru Watanabe nodded. Mrs. Kujo Masakazu couldn't help but smile, and then leaned back against the back of the sofa. That child, Mrs. Kiyono Masakazu said as if she was talking to herself, finally has friends again. He needs to drink something. Mrs. Kujo Masakazu turned her head and ordered the maid, "Go get the best red wine." "Yes. By the way, give him a glass of juice the same color as the red wine." Mrs. Kujo Masakazu pointed at Toru Watanabe and added. After pouring the red wine, Mrs. Kujo Masakazu stared at it for a while, and then after gracefully taking the first sip, she continued. "How did you do it?" Mrs. Kiyono Masakazu also looked at Toru Watanabe curiously. Toru Watanabe held the bottom of the wine glass between his fingers and gently turned it like a screw on a machine. After a moment of deliberation, he told the two of them about the recent events. The two ladies listened with rapt attention, and only occasionally picked up the glass subconsciously. "That's all." Toru Watanabe took a sip of the juice that looked like wine, but he couldn't tell what fruit it was. After listening, Mrs. Kiyono Masakazu asked an unexpected question. "Miki Masakazu, Rin, who do you like more? And your other two lovers?" Mrs. Kujo Masakazu's gaze also became meaningful, with a sense of scrutiny. "I love Kiyono Masakazu the most." This love was as indestructible as a 1,000-year-old rock, and there was no room for compromise. "I love Miki Masakazu the most." Sometimes he would fall into confusion. If Miki Masakazu continued to kill people, would he still be able to firmly oppose her? "That's how I love her. I love my Masakazu the most." He didn't find my Asahi Masakazu, who wanted nothing but him, troublesome at all, very distressing. No matter what, he had to make her happy. Aona Koizumi Masakazu is the most touched and the most natural person to get along with. She had forgotten about him, but she still remembered to come to Tokyo and go to Kamigawa. She had persisted for 10 years, just because of a month of interaction. And her tolerant and gentle love. In front of her, he could be lazy, and he didn't need to care about honesty or lies. He didn't need to think about how to balance the relationship. He didn't need to constantly remind himself that he must take good care of her. He was as casual as an ordinary person. "Then who do you want to be with the most?" Kujo Masakazu asked. "If I have to choose, it's still between Kiyono Masakazu and Miki Masakazu." After thinking about it, Toru Watanabe said, "Kiyono Masakazu is my love. It's very interesting to chat with her, and we can stay together harmoniously even if we don't chat. The key is that she understands me, and I understand her. But I also like Miki Masakazu to the deepest part of my heart. I wish I could stay with her every day, and even hold her hand when we walk." "Playboy," Kiyono Masakazu commented. "Frivolous," Kujo Masakazu concluded. "Yes, but please rest assured that there won't be anyone else other than the four of them. It's useless to promise us." Kujo Masakazu waved her hand as if she couldn't be bothered. "Wait." Kiyono Masakazu put down the wineglass in her hand and stared at Toru Watanabe. "You're already together with Ling?" "Not yet, but I've already thought it through." Toru Watanabe's tone was relaxed and pleasant. "I like her so much, and I don't care what she thinks. I must get her. I hope the two of you can allow it, for the sake of me making them reconcile." "That's your business," Mrs. Kujo Masakazu said. "Thank you," Toru Watanabe said sincerely. "I'm only concerned about one thing." Kujo Masakazu asked curiously, "Who do you plan to marry?" Toru Watanabe was put in a difficult position, but he still said, "And there are some things." Kiyono Masakazu suddenly stood up and put her girlish hand on Toru Watanabe's shoulder. "Think about it carefully before you speak. I want to know the answer now." Kujio Maki also stood up and placed her hand on Toru Watanabe's other shoulder, which was no different from a young girl's. Toru Watanabe, who was between the two of them, looked very pitiful. He even wondered if he would be threatened by Rin Kiyono and Miki Kujo in 20 years. He could only run to Senpai Mai and Senpai Aonai, and hide with them for a few days. "Say something, Kuin Watanabe." "This? Ding ding dang, bell ding dang, In order to ensure that he could answer Miki Kujo's call immediately, he had specially set a special ringtone for her, and it still hadn't been changed. "I'll take the call." Toru Watanabe took out his phone and prepared to take the opportunity to slip away. "What, is there something we can't hear?" Mrs. Kujo pressed him back again. Mrs. Sano simply took the phone away from him and answered the call by putting it on speaker. "Why did you take so long to answer?" Miki Kujo's dissatisfied voice came through. "It took so long, but it was actually only 3 or 4 seconds. Without waiting for Toru Watanabe to explain, Miki Kujo said, "Kiyono is really incorrigible. There's no way to get along with her." The two ladies suddenly became nervous and leaned over. "What's the matter now?" Toru Watanabe didn't care and asked curiously. "We were shopping when we suddenly went back." "What did you do?" Although it was a question, Toru Watanabe was very sure. "What can I do?" "We were shopping for autumn clothes. I wanted to buy clothes for you." "What's wrong with a girlfriend buying clothes for her boyfriend?" "You did it on purpose, didn't you?" Miki Kujo finally couldn't help but laugh out loud. The shop assistant asked what kind of clothes you like. "I said he likes to wear the type I want him to wear." "You didn't see Kiyono's expression at that time. Ha ha ha." The two ladies looked at each other and then burst into laughter at the same time. "I'll apologize to her tomorrow." Miki Kujo's brisk voice came from the other side of the phone. "You actually took the initiative to apologize?" This was beyond Toru Watanabe's expectations and surprised him. "We'll go shopping after we make up. We haven't bought clothes yet. Don't buy it for me again." Ha 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 ha. Miki Kujo was very happy. Obviously, she was up to no good. As soon as the call ended, the phone rang again. This time, it was Rin Kiyono. She said immediately, "Tell her that if she does this again, don't ask me out." "What's wrong?" Toru Watanabe asked even though he already knew the answer. "We agreed to pick out autumn clothes for each other. She suddenly mentioned you and said that she wanted to buy clothes for you. She knows that we're competing. What does she want to do? You can buy it for me too." Rin Kiyono sneered. "This isn't a matter of buying or not. She's declaring war. Tell her exactly what I said." "Okay." After the call ended, Kiyono returned the phone to Toru Watanabe. "I was a little dissatisfied to be with both of our daughters at the same time, but now I'm not," she said with a smile. "It's been hard on you." Kujo patted Toru Watanabe's shoulder sympathetically. "It's not hard. I'm very happy." After a pause, Toru Watanabe added, "They're very happy too." A wave of soothing and pleasant air drifted in from the floor-to-ceiling window. It felt like a breeze, but it also didn't feel like a breeze. It was a cool and pleasant autumn day. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.